Live. Good morning. If it's morning for you, it is for us. Good morning, everyone. Sorry we're a few minutes late. We had some technical issues to work through. But Texas Hawk, I can't remember your actual name. I'm sorry.
Steve.
Steve. We'd like to welcome you to our first of what we hope are many developer-focused preview streams where we invite the developers of a game on and we'll through the magic of Discord screen sharing, be able to have them take us through a little tour of their game. So joining us this morning to take us through a little tour of the really very exciting, formerly Imperia, now Alliance of the Sacred Sons game, is its developer, Steve. Steve what? I can't remember.
Steve Hawkins.
I thought that's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. I didn't want to say.
You got all the Stephen Hawking jokes. That's how you remember it.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Yeah, it's like
right.
a wheelchair. I'm like,
You're
yeah,
right.
except I wish I was as smart as that guy, but yeah.
God, don't we all, right? So,
Man.
folks, if you're unaware, Alliance of the Sacred Sons it's a grand strategy game, but it's less about sending fleets out and like sending scouts and colony ships and stuff. And it's more about dealing with relationships. It's more akin to Crusader Kings or Star Wars Rebellion than anything.
Ooh, that's a good game.
Oh God, right?
I just played it last week. I got it working on Steam.
No, you didn't.
And, I did. Yeah, they have a Windows 10 patch that they created about 6 months ago. Yep.
Oh, and that fixes the reversing thing that it was doing on Windows 10?
Reversing and the screen ratio issues. Yep.
Oh, if you could send me that, I would. Oh, I love that game so much. Yeah. Oh, my God.
If you have it on Steam, if you bought it on Steam, it will auto-download. Because I was just kind of going through my stuff, and it would never work right. And about 6 months ago, and I was like, I'll give it another shot. Because I saw they had an update that they had a Windows 10 patch. And so I launched it, and it worked perfectly. It was beautiful. They fixed the so it doesn't auto stretch. It's got the original resolution, and it worked beautifully, and it was the right speed. And yeah, I played for like 5 hours. It was great.
Oh, it's such a good game. So I'm going to see if I think I might have it on GOG. If I don't have it on Steam, that's about to change as of the end of this stream. So
nothing else. We've done some good today.
I'm going to buy that crap today. So, Steve, how would you describe your game in a nutshell? Like, how would you sell it to people since it's your baby?
Well, it's funny. It's, it is kind of a grand strategy. I go back and forth with the guys at Explorminate about, is it a true 4X? It's not a classic 4X. I would call it a grand strategy 4X because it does have 4X elements. It has explore, exploit, exterminate, expand. I mean, you do those things, but you don't do them in a typical sense of, you start with most 4X games, you have your lone colonist and your transporter, your scout, and you're in your one planet, and you're kind of seeking the unknown. So with Alliance, you're actually in an established empire. It's kind of a flips it on its head. You're in the middle of a decaying empire. It's kind of like Foundation. I'm certain you're familiar with that series.
Ooh, yeah, of course.
It's definitely got some Foundation elements. You're kind of in the center of a decaying empire, and unlike Foundation, you're actually trying to save your empire because it is tantamount to kind of rebuilding the Celestial Empire. There's kind of a whole backstory. The real short version is 1,000 years ago, humanity was able to build a wormhole based on technology that came through an asteroid. It was kind of a data cache, and over the next 50 years, they were able to kind of decipher it and build it and realize that they had plans for a Stargate. So they built the Stargate in about 2030. They thought it was going to be used to explore, but what it did was it sent a signal to these cybernetic aliens called the Zill that essentially you find out that they're seeding these plans all over the galaxy, and any civilization that's advanced enough to build what they sent is advanced enough basically to exploit. So by building the Stargate, they send a signal for the Zill to basically come on in and take the planet's resources and enslave the population, etc. So humanity fights back, and there's kind of a 2-year war, kind of a story on that. Basically, they lose. They decide the last resort is send a bunch of arcs through the Stargate just to basically save humanity. There's a little bit of safe hold in that as well. And they get something like 9 out of 100 arcs through, because there's like I have kind of this whole big story. And actually, if if I ever get the chance to write some sequels, you'll be able to fight that war. But anyway, so they get the arcs through, and so the Zill are pissed, so they basically destroy Earth in retaliation. So humanity has to kind of set up a new empire in another part of the Milky Way galaxy where they're kind of dumped. So over the next 500 years, they build the Terran Alliance, and it's, things are good, things are cool. And then the Zill find them again about the year 2500, and they fight a war and actually have a board game based on that. It's actually on Board Game Geek. So you're kind of fighting that battle. So it ends in a stalemate. Basically, they're able to fight off the Zill with kind of a nanovirus. But as a result of that war, and that's kind of where the game starts to pick up, a lot of colonies were lost. A lot of the outlying colonies, the Terran Alliance just basically couldn't hold those colonies. They didn't have the military. They didn't think they need it. And so the alliance kind of devolves into anarchy. And so it ends up kind of becoming a feudalist state. And you have several great houses kind of formed, kind of take control in a vacuum. Then about 2700, the strongest house, led by Magnus the First, creates the Celestial Empire to kind of protect against future threats. And then over the next 100 years or so, no threats occurred, and then of course you have your infighting and your houses wanting control, and so the empire kind of devolved into a backbiting, think kind of BattleTech-ish kind of backstory. Right. So that's kind of where you're at. It's 3050. You're an 18-year-old emperor. You've just been basically given your majority from your regent, and your job is to save humanity because you have psychic abilities. And you have had these visions that the Zill are returning. You know the history. I mean, the Zill 500 years. It's been so long. It's almost like ancient history. But through the story, and this has not been added yet, but this will be when it's in 1.0. You will gradually reveal that you basically have to pull humanity together. Increase the military forces. Do science with the Zill, find out where and when they're coming and their weaknesses. And at the end of the game, basically you're strong enough to stand against them or not. So that's the game in a nutshell. And that's kind of the backstory. So you play as the emperor. I mean, you are the emperor. The whole experience, and this is what really separates Alliance, is that you play as you are a person. You have stats, you have action points. You can't do everything in a turn. You can get sick, you can be killed. You have traits that you can kind of add through. There will be a separate Emperor screen, kind of like there was in the first Imperia. You'll be able to actually see yourself, and you'll be able to see your main statistics, and you'll actually be able to improve them. You can take a month off and kind of, do learning, or you can do other things like go hunting, and there'll be some not mini games, but just some things that you can do to kind of improve your stats. So there'll also be stories where you'll have kind of ongoing plot lines where you'll be able to choose different actions through these plot lines, and then that will also create actions in the universe. So, there's some RPG elements to it. There's definitely the 4X, obviously grand strategy. It's kind of a polyglot of genres, which is why I think a lot of people are just interested. It's just different. There's right. Not a lot of change. The 4X space is there's not a lot of innovation right now, which saddens me because it's my favorite genre. Yeah. And so I'm trying to do something different. Hopefully it's not so different that it turns people off, but it's different enough that people will take notice.
I think so. And you say you're not as smart as Stephen Hawking, but you not only made up all that stuff, you remember all that stuff. I couldn't keep all that in my head.
Well, I've been working on this for 5 years, so it's I one of the things my publisher likes about me is that I'm able to talk about my game. And when I do my I do occasional videos, a lot of people can't talk about their game. They can program the heck out of it, but they can't talk about it. That's and fair. To me, I'm a game designer first and a programmer second. I've always been I've been designing games since I was 6. The programming came later. Anybody can, virtually anybody can learn to program. Not everyone can design. And I'm not saying my design is great or anything like that, but there is a skill, I think, in designing a good game. Game flow can't be too hard, can't be too easy. It's got to remain engaging. I live by the Sid Meier axiom. Every turn needs to have a significant decision. I believe that wholeheartedly. And so when I do my test play, if I'm just sitting there clicking next turn, then I've failed. the game is not engaging. And that's what I'm trying. Every single turn needs to have something to do and needs to be engage the player.
Oh, that sounds great. And yeah, that is one of the downsides of a lot of 4X is like, especially in the early game where you're like turn, turn, turn,
Yep.
turn until something happened. Oh, thank God.
Yep.
So,
And then turn while you're trying to exploit what you found that turn. Yeah, I mean the first 50 turns and they should be the most interesting, right? Because you're exploring new planets. You know, you're building your strategy. But you're right, a lot of it is just the first turn you set your strategy, and then you're just click until something pops.
Right.
And then rinse and repeat until you have meet someone, and then it gets more interesting, and then you have combat, which gets more interesting. But it takes a while to get there. So with Alliance, you're already there. You're already in the middle of it. I mean, you got houses gunning for you right away. You've got your population that's ambivalent at best, but they're watching you closely. And the power mechanic, which, as you get into the game today, you'll see is very, very important, because literally if you lose your power, it's kind of like your influence, you lose the game. Even though you might still have 20 planets, if your influence is 0, then you're a figurehead, and you are basically you are ineffective. So yeah, just leave it at that. Just leave it at 14,000.
Okay. So folks,
just because I mean you can have huge, but I'm working on optimizing the pops. I'm making them smaller for the next major update. So bigger empires are interesting because the houses have more resources, but it also takes the turns take a long time, which I don't think you want in a stream.
So folks, we're using Discord screen sharing, which we haven't used much. It's kind of fascinating. Like, there's like no delay. I think I'm doing this at 720p, and it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks really sharp on my end.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm kind of excited about this because if I want to do this more with other developers, this is going to be really important. So we're going to start with a small quadrant, and we'll choose our culture next. Whoa. Okay.
So the culture is mostly important for now. For the associated houses, they all have their own. Now, this is going to be a big part of the game later on, especially in 0.9. Each culture has ideas. They have a primary ideas and then primary deviances, which are what they score lowest in. And so for the Neo-American, this is kind of the generic, as close to a generic one. Worldliness is actually important because a high worldliness means that the culture values material stuff. So when you're developing your economy, if you have a culture with a high worldliness, they're going to expect a retail sector. They're going to expect things to buy. So in order to keep them happy, you're going to have to build a retail network. Whereas lower worldliness, that's not important to them. And retail networks actually won't really generate that much money because they don't buy stuff. So the other stuff, body purism, unitary self, that's going to come more into play with reforms, which is going to be added. Actually, the next major system to be added. It'll be added by end of next month. Okay. So xenotolerance, everybody's pretty low. This is kind of like there's one culture that's actually high xenotolerant, and they're actually embrace the ZIL. There'll be an alternate path if you have that culture where you can actually embrace the ZIL and have them assimilate you as kind of an alternate victory. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to play. One of the biggest complaints I get, well, I don't say complaints, but like people start the game and they're just staring like, what do I do? Because you can do, in most other games, you start out with just a few limited options. And with Alliance, you can do whatever you want from the very beginning. I mean, everything's unlocked to you. It's just, what do you want to do? Warrior ethos, that's how willing they are to go to war and fight. I mean, you have a Spartan culture. If you plan on winning purely militarily, that's probably the culture you want. Tolerance is very actually important too, because if you have a low tolerance, your planets will not assimilate other cultures well, and they won't want to migrate to that planet. There's a full migration system. So if your house is low tolerance, if you force other cultures to go into the planet, then you run a much higher risk of riots and other events. So, and then you have your associated houses, and those are the houses that are most likely to be allied with you. So you can kind of pick your allies. They're not guaranteed to be in the game. There's 10 great houses right now. There's going to be 20 great houses, of which 5 will be randomly picked at any one time. In the game. So it's very roguelike in that you may have a game where you have everyone is kind of not exactly your enemy, but they're kind of in a Cold War state, or you could have a game where you have 3 allies out of the 5. I mean, very rarely will you have the extreme, but every single game is going to be different. And so that's what's kind of interesting. You're not setting up, okay, I have one planet and everything's the same. You could, depending on your start, you could be put in a very good situation, or you could be put in a more challenging situation. And I'm going to have some more detailed setup options. I think I'm going to have the ability to, select specific houses that you want to play, and then, your starting treasury, things like that. But for now, it's definitely got some roguelike element to it.
Right. And friends, by the way, just to be clear, this is an early version. It's build 0.7.5. So there are going to be text issues like you see here because it's early access. BitGamer says it makes him think of Emperor of the Fading Suns. It sounds like a similar universe, at least. Probably different gameplay. But because that was very unit heavy. It was a very unit heavy game. Love that game, by the way. I just got it running in a window. I got to remember how to do that. Okay, I kind of want someone with a higher tolerance. Ooh, there we go. I'm Sorry.
Gilded World is kind of interesting. They're kind of the hippies of they authoritarian. They're kind of like live and let live. Conservatism, extremely, yeah. So, and then there's your Spartak.
Oh God, warrior ethos. I think I'm gonna go. Who are these guys? Let's see. Oh.
Yeah, they're big into. They have a worldliness of 10. They're big into their stuff. They want their tech stuff. They're actually fun to play because there initially was going to be a religion system. I'm trying to kind of minimize. I would like to have this game released before 2023, so I had to end up cutting some systems. But originally, the Technics were going to be kind of the avowed opponents of the highly religious, traditionalists. But they're actually helpful. They're going to be very helpful when the science system comes on board, because they will have bonuses to their academic output.
This is totally me right here. I want stuff. I love technology, and I want to work with other cultures. Yeah, we're doing this. We're doing these guys. So let's see.
All right.
Set up house.
So now you can enter your house name. Can be anything you want.
Of course.
Okay. And then choose your sigil. And I'll get some better sigils. One of the things I'm excited about working with a publisher is I'll have access to better art. So I'm really looking forward to having better sigils.
Well,
now, would the sigil be something you could mod in later?
Yes, actually. Yeah. Actually, well, Unity makes it fairly difficult to mod graphics, but most of the text files are already moddable. You can actually mod pretty much anything except for the projects and actions, because those are kind of hard coded. But as far as the house names, the leader names, culture ideas, you can set all those. You can set planet names, system names, province names. You'll be able to set, ship. When the military system comes in, you'll have cohorts names that you'll be able to put in. All that is actually moddable already. I don't really have a setup for it, but it's easy to set up a file structure to do that. You just basically have to set up a folder with the various subfolders put in properly to do that.
No, okay.
Yeah, I like these numbers.
Yeah, so just going so you have farming tradition. So a tradition basically, so each house has traditions, and this is kind of one of the things that separates houses, what they're good at. The higher the tradition in a particular category, the better your characters will be in that particular skill, and then also the better your pop. So for instance, the way you have it now, you've got a lot of high tech and academic, so you're going to have a lot more academics, and they're going to have higher skills on average. And then your characters are going to, and again, this isn't as important right now because the science system isn't in, but you would be able to basically generate reforms faster in science with this house.
Science! Okay. All right, so I'm liking how everything's set up. Let's create our emperor. Whoa! Oh, dude. Oh, I like all these guys, but I gotta stick with Mr. Petticoat here. I love this guy. All right, so my name.
Just enter your name.
That's gonna be me. Weak constitution.
Okay, that's it. Conservatism. It means you're not conservative.
Oh well, that's not to get political.
Which is not weak. Just means low. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Right.
There's not a bad or good. It just means low. versus high. And if you want to play a certain way, maybe that's okay. As the culture system gets more developed, that's going to make more sense.
I really like these graphics.
Yeah,
really
I had an original artist when I was working in Imperia. He was the first artist basically to come on board, and he created the graphics. So when I work with the publisher, we're gonna have a face gen system for the portraits, because right now there's obviously a lot of duplicate, but we're gonna have a unique face gen system, and then I'm hoping to match this style. So that's gonna be one of my things I'm asking help for. So.
Yeah, I still dig this guy. All right, your empire awaits. Let's go. Come on. Stars generated 104 characters.
Yeah, so it's gonna take about a minute to generate. There's a lot going on. It's not quite Dwarf Fortress level, but it's generating a history. It's generating the characters' histories, what they've done. You'll be able to read a bio about them. It's generating the planet histories. It's moving people around. So it's harder than you think to create a fully formed empire and just plop you in the middle of it. You've got to generate all that ahead of time.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Okay, there it goes. Let's wait. The numbers haven't moved.
Yeah, it goes through several turns. I'm probably going to make this a little bit more kind of obvious about what it's doing, but it's going through four. It's building basically 4 turns worth of history, and then it will when you see adjusting the emperor's robes, that's when it's about to kick in.
Oh, maybe like separate progress bars for each turn, so give you something to look at.
I'm kind of still working with the move to a publisher is going to kind of help me focus on usability versus design. Right now the game's been very much about design and just getting stuff working. Now it's going to be more about, okay, now it's got to, look right. We're going to have a beta testing team. I'll be able to get feedback on things like that. What do people want? What makes it easier? Because a game like this is very important. The UI is extremely important.
And folks, we haven't said, but even though this is in early access, you can buy this today if you want. You go to allianceofthesacredsons.com and you could totally, buy this game and play with it. Moved a little bit.
It's almost done. It's almost done. And actually,
Come on, buddy.
Actually, technically, as of last Saturday, you can no longer buy the game.
Because of the publisher thing?
I don't want to get that. Yeah, because as part of the agreement.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
It will only be available on Steam through early access, so we want to control the quality of the launch. So but you're right. Up until a few days ago, you could. So.
Okay.
But yeah, that's part of the thing, because we want to make sure we don't have a bunch of rogue copies out there. We want to make sure that we have a very nice EA launch. One of the things on Steam is you see a lot of junk, and if a game launches, nowadays early access is basically considered ready to go by a lot of players. So if you put something in early access, even though it's early access, they're gonna kill it if it's not just.
There we go.
There we go.
That's so
you
dumb,
got a pretty big empire then.
That's so dumb. Oh my gosh. Whoa, this has changed a lot since last I played this. A lot more elements now. I haven't played it in a while.
And your performance should be a lot better too. You should be getting a steady 60 frames a second.
I mean,
across the board.
Yeah, look at that. I have a pretty beefy computer.
Those look great.
I have a pretty beefy computer, but yeah, like how do you move around as a W? Okay.
You just pan. Or you can use the arrow keys, or you can just pan to the edge of the screen.
Right. All right. Yeah, no, this looks way better, and I love... Ooh. Okay. So we got...
Yeah, it's come a long way. That's why so that's why you need a guide, because... so the first thing you should click on the little... you see in the menu bar where there's a little old guy button, kind of on the upper left. Like you got the lightning bolt, and then there you go, Grand Vizier. So this is a new screen for you. Go ahead and click on it.
Ooh,
so this is kind of your helper. So this kind of gives you some.
I love
and
his face.
This is a work in progress system, but this basically he's going to give you advice. Whenever you click on it, like what you're doing, how you're doing, what you could be doing. And then, of course, if he has something to say, like, "Hey, your planets are doing terribly," he'll tell you that too.
Nice.
So right now, this is just giving you some goals, which are pretty generic because you've started the game. Right now, you're at 50% popular support, basically. And your power is derived in big part for your popular support. You can either be loved or feared. And if you have a low fear and a low popular support, then your power is going to diminish because people don't your people do not respect you. But if they fear you, then you will have power, but you will be considered a tyrant, which has its own issues. So, but yeah, there's basically going to be 3 ways to win the game. You can win through popular support. If you have over 85% popular support, you can then initiate what's called the Lazarus Project, which is not in the game yet, but it'll be part of the reformed science system. You can basically research an immortality victory, but your people will not support you ruling forever. You have to have the popular support, or you have to be basically a tyrant, and your fear level has to be super high. So either way, your people have to either support it or be beaten into it for you to do this. And then, of course, the Zil Final War. Right now, literally, you just win if you see the Zil power up there, 3,501. Your power is 942. You have to ally houses to your cause. You'll build your military at the end of the game. Currently, it's a check. Either you win or you don't win, which is kind of boring, but that's a whole system that needs to be put in, but at least it gives you a milestone. You can lose by being killed. You can lose by the empire going into bankruptcy. Or you can lose by what's called recension. There's, again, a huge backstory, but basically the leader of the Zil wants to come back to the universe. She ascended into kind of the second plane, and she's decided she wants to come back and reclaim her lost love. And so in order to get back into the universe, it turns out it takes a tremendous amount of energy. And so they have built a recension chamber, but it's powered basically by using bioenergy, which is people. So this is basically the ultimate reason. You find out why the Zil want the humanity. Basically, they're trying to kill them for their bioenergy so they can bring their leader back into this universe. But as you find, it turns out that when the recension chamber will fail, and it will end up obliterating the universe if it's turned on and used. So you have to stop that process.
Right. Okay, so let's look at some of these things. So money is not moving. We're losing energy somehow, a little bit.
Yeah. So energy is actually pretty rare. You'll actually do pretty well because you have what are called fluxmen that generate energy. Think of energy as like oil and just general energy deposits. And these power your systems. These power your projects. Projects all cost a certain amount of energy. Basic materials, heavy materials, rare materials. Your military will also cost that. Those are just your filters. Green is basically low important, medium important, high important, critical. So right now you've gained 15 million people at that planet. So you can actually click on the Dijoki. If you click on the planet, and if you go to your lower left, you see the command modes. Yeah. You're going to want to go into demographic command mode, which is the second button on the right. Okay, and then if you go to net migration, you see where it says 14 million right below the total population. If you click on that, that will give you your flow.
Wow.
And so it tells you, where they've come from, what population types. So right now you've got a lot of fluxmen that came to that planet from all these different planets. Now it doesn't add up to 15 because I haven't put in it only shows the top 4 currently. But I'm going to, work on that.
Oh, wow. And you can click on any of those things.
And that here, go ahead and back out. Yeah, that's kind of a little glitch on that. I got to fix that, but
that's okay.
Normally you will be able to click on that and go to that different system. And then you have intel for each character. So the intel, that's something that was not added at all when you last played. So you now have inquisitors that can generate intel on characters. And you see how their skills in the middle, some of them are question marks. So you don't know what they're good at. And then you also learn more about them. And when you have high intel, you're actually able to see the relationships they have with other characters. So let's say you want to get to know this person, go ahead and click on friendly actions.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so this is the actions, and this is kind of the crux of the game, and this is what really separates it. You interact with your empire through actions and projects. Actions are what you do directly to characters. Projects are these huge this is how you send out scout expeditions, how you colonize planets, create outposts, you create projects. Get to know character is kind of the generic one. This is just you, saying, hey, I want to get to know you better. We're working together. Now, remember I told you about power and how important it is? It's that big number right at the center top of your screen, the huge 398.
Yeah.
If that ever drops to 0, you lose the game because you're a figurehead. So if the number on the right, that shows the amount of power that you are risking if they decline. So, get to know character, not that big a deal. If they say no, it's not really that big a deal. But begging for peace publicly, yeah, that's going to make you take a huge hit. You're basically saying, I'm sorry, I have wronged you. Please let us, put aside our differences. I mean, yeah, that's not going to engender respect among your populace if you do that. So, and then you have assignment actions, and these change depending on if they're a viceroy or a governor. And this is helping them run their planet. Now, since this is not my holding, this is actually Horlock. There are limited things that I can do because I'm your house. You're the house of Velok. You don't own this planet. Horlock owns this planet. It's all part of the Empire, but think of it as a holding. Kind of think of it like Celestial Crusader Kings, where you have it's your empire or it's your kingdom, but these different barons and dukes and whatnot, they run their own parts of it, and they have quite a bit of autonomy. You cannot force them to run their planet a certain way. You can request it, but they are free to decline. Now, you can, of course, take that holding back by force or by diplomacy, but of course that will make that house very unhappy with you, and it has other knock-on effects. The more houses, the more holdings you take that way, the more fear you generate, the more tyrannical you become. So everything kind of has a balance. I mean, you can play several different ways. It just depends on how you want to play. If you want to play very benevolently, give a lot of money to domestic and build up your pops that way, that's one way to play, because if you do that, then it'll keep your power high, and it will keep your house leaders especially from demanding things from you, which leads to a power loss if you accept. So I know I'm talking a lot. Do you just want to kind of explore and kind of?
No, I mean there's
just a lot. Like when I explain this game, there's just so much.
There's a lot going on here, and it's a very different game. So the more that both I and other players know, the better. This is, and you can tell, and you're very passionate about it. You're very excited about it. So it's like listening to little stories. So it's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, just keep on talking. Okay. I like the issue public reprimand. Insults.
Yeah, so that's you. Yeah. So, and there are challenges in the game. So you can actually, if a character either rebels, it says no to a public. You see how there's some public and private. These are actions. So a public action is something that you declare in front of people. No, a private action is something that you just ask privately. So if they publicly refuse to do something, you will generate a challenge. And at that point, that's a challenge against your authority. And then that kind of works as kind of a mini game where you have, and this is the very, very next thing I'm adding. I'm literally coding it this week to where you'll be able to, it's basically like a power standoff. You'll be able to recruit people to assist in your challenge, and they'll be able to do the same. And so at the end of that 6 months or 6 turns, whoever has the higher power wins the challenge. And whoever loses the challenge loses an amount of power that's staked under the challenge. And that's proportionate to the character's power level differences. So this Viceroy has a power of 59. You have a power of 398. You should crush this person like a bug. But if for some reason he challenges you and you lose, you'll lose a huge amount of power. Because you basically lost a diplomatic political face-off with a highly inferior character. Whereas if you lost one with a house leader who has a roughly equivalent amount of power, it won't be as nearly big of a hit because you're considered political equals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. All right, so let's see.
So this is your Celestial Council. So it's made up by the different houses of the Empire, and it's kind of like in the America we have a cabinet. It's kind of like that, and so they control different parts of the game. Like the Financial Prime has a big part of tax collection, and they also have some. Basically, the worse they are, the fewer taxes you'll collect, and the lower your gross gross empire product will be. However, if you try to get rid of them, which you can do. But the house they're with, that's a huge hit in prestige. That's considered, other than being a house leader, this is like the most prestigious thing in the empire that you can be is part of the Celestial Council. So if you kick them off of there, they are personally going to have a huge grudge, and their house is going to be pissed too. So you have to kind of weigh that against, you don't want all these houses pissed off at you. I mean, you won't win the game, because without the houses, they won't support your projects. And if you can't do anything, if your house is the only one contributing project resources, you won't be able to do nearly enough. And you won't be able to nearly have the empire ready for the final invasion. So you have to balance. All the houses aren't going to love you, but you got to kind of pick your battles. Like, which houses do I need? Which houses am I most likely to be able to sway to my cause? Because you can't, because they have their own relationships as well. So it's very, very difficult to have all 5 houses love you, because those houses don't love each other, and they may have their own relationships.
Everyone has an agenda.
Pretty well, no. In this game, they do. Each character has a goal, has a kind of a goal, power, wealth, or security, and then they kind of work through different actions to make that happen. And then plots will be in the game shortly. Characters are able to plot, and a plot isn't necessarily a bad. I know that sounds nefarious, and it can be. I mean, you can plot to assassinate the emperor, or plot to take over a viceroyship or a governorship, but a plot can be as simple as, I want a promotion, or I want to accumulate double my wealth. A plot is just something that a character wants and has to get other characters' help to get it. And so you, as the emperor, you are able to hear rumors about these plots, and you can determine for yourself. You can send an inquisitor to kind of investigate a certain character, or if you hear rumors on a certain planet, you can send an inquisitor to investigate the planet, build up intel. And so gradually you build up enough intel, you get a sense of what that character is doing. And if it's something you don't want, you can actually have them arrested and tried. And basically, if you've picked the right person, you can have them exiled or killed. But if it's the wrong person, like let's say you hear about a plot to kill the emperor. Okay, well, you think it's you hear a rumor that it's the system governor or House Horlock. Well, Horlock has 2 system governors. So if you pick the wrong one, and you'll get additional, the more intel you have, the more clues you'll get. But of course, if you wait too long, the plot may go off and you die. So if you pick the right person, then you eliminate the threat. But if you pick the wrong person, then that house is basically going to be furious. That character is going to be furious, and your power takes a huge hit. So there's kind of a mini game in there as well, and that's a kind of a part of the diplomatic aspect.
All right. Well, let's see. What do we have to do?
So go ahead and click on the go to the economic command mode first. That's the center that's the one with the little bar, the little yeah, that's it.
Ooh.
I probably need to do a pop-up. All right, so trade. So this is kind of the first thing. When you're playing the game, you kind of have to look at, okay, what's my position? And if you go to your right above where you clicked on the Grand Vizier on the top left, the little dollar sign, that is your economic screen. So this tells you what your planet situation is. So you see on the all your planets, and you see at the end of the day you have the Empire share. It's the far right. Yeah. So if it's positive, it means that you're going to get potentially 146 billion credits a year from that planet today. And this is what you have to understand. The budget, your gross empire project is assuming at the end of the year, if nothing changed, that's what your gross product would be at the end of the year. And each year is 10 turns. Now that can change every turn, but this is assuming, if nothing changed, no additional pops moved to that planet, or no additional development, or taxes were changed, nothing, that would be the expected outcome. So if it's negative, you've got, a whole year to try to turn that around. If it's positive, you want to keep it up. Now you see how the financial prime has got that 27% in the big on the lower right. So that's terrible. That's his tax collecting efficiency. That's horrendous. So that means out of that 146 billion, I'm only going to see 27% of that.
That is what? He's terrible. Why? Why is he in charge? Why is he in charge?
Well, look at his economic skill. It's an 11.
It's 11 out of 100.
11 out of 200.
200.
Yeah. So you can have AIs and hybrids in the game. They're rare, but they are the only ones that can have abilities above 100. because they're basically, artificial intelligences. So the system is 0 to 100, but then you have characters with extraordinary ability that can go to 200. Yeah, there's a lot of depth. Like I find myself, I could talk for hours about everything going on. This thing is going to have like a 400-page manual.
Oh, I can't wait.
And I'm not surprised, honestly.
I'm not surprised.
Because
I don't know if
there's a lot going on, and I like it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when you learn to play, it's a tremendous amount of fun because you now understand what's going on. Like, for instance, right now, you have to decide, can I accept 27%? That's horrendous. But if you go ahead and close the screen, so here's what to consider. So close the screen. So now click on the Thunderbolt, and this is your house screen at the upper, right there. So he was Milok, right? Yeah, he was Milok. He has a little
Yes.
Okay, so go back to the house screen.
Nope, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So so you see, this is the most powerful house right now. Their power is, you have a power of 942, which you can see below kind of the button for that. That's your house power. And they have 3 holdings. And they are Cold War with you. So this is a house that if you sack this guy, they're going to trend towards a limited war relationship with you, which means they will not trade with you. They will actively oppose your projects, and they will actively look to take your territories. So that's a decision you have to make. If you decide it's worth it to have, a crappy financial prime, to leave it alone to, make Milok happy. If you're part of your strategy is, I'm going to get these guys on my side, you cannot sack him. You'll lose like 300 points on the diplomat emperor reputation. So that's already, you got something to think about.
Yeah, risk reward. Like, could I hire another guy that's from this same house?
You could. And that would actually mitigate the house hit, but the character will be furious. The character will probably start plotting against you.
Okay, I'm not ready to deal with plots yet, so we're going to leave him alone.
Well, that's not in yet, but that's going to be the next major update before 8.8 is going to have all of that. So when you zoom in, so you have the trade. So you have province hubs, and you have system hubs, and then you have systems with no hubs at all. So the way it works, province hubs kind of gather. You can trade the 5 major resources. You have food, energy, basic materials, heavy materials, rare materials. So when you look at, like, let's look at Xiaohao. It's the one over on the westernmost. So they have 4 trade fleets that they can use right now. And right now they have if you look at Merowith, this is the only, go ahead and zoom in. There you go. So you see how that's bigger. Okay, so you see they've got a province trade hub.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so they've got a province trade hub. Now you see import needs. See how they're all 0? That means that the viceroy has determined, I don't need any of this. So go ahead and click on the planet. Go ahead and click on the actual planet. There you go. It'll zoom in. And go ahead and click on where it says Focus Academies production level. That's going to show you your output right here. Sorry, I'm like pointing at the screen. There you go. So you see how most everything. You see how most everything is positive. So you get your food. You have a positive. You have a big positive. Remember, you have points into energy, so your fluxmen are more capable. You have a slight basic material loss, but basically it's so slight, and then your rare materials are so slight that the viceroys decide, nah, I don't need anything. So they're not going to actively look to import, which is good because it costs money to import goods. If you click on trade, click on the trade where it says trade 0 BC on the left-hand side.
1 second.
On the left, it kind of got the left. There you go. This gives you your trade overview. So this shows you that they've got a level 3 star base. They have 63 merchants. They're not importing or exporting yet. And then this shows you the logistical trade. So this is how you, as the empire, this is how you get your goods as into New Terra. So those values on the upper right, that's your empire stockpile. Those are on New Terra. But the way to get them there is you have to have them go through this logistical trade system. So remember, I talked about you don't want houses in Cold War. So houses that are any lower will not be a part of the trade network. They will not send you goods ever. So if all your houses hate you, you have to rely on your holdings to provide the energy and materials needed, and you got to have them. That's the only way you can, you can colonize. If you want to expand, if you want to build fleets, you've got to do it through projects. And if you don't have any resources, you can't do projects. projects are also a major way to increase your power, because these are things that you're doing that are huge, and your people see them as you doing something. But if you don't have any resources, you can't do them. And then other houses are doing projects, they're doing the same things you are. You're going to drop power pretty quick, because you're going to be seen as being either lazy or incompetent because you're not doing anything.
Right.
It's the "what have you done for me lately" effect in politics.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. There is a lot
Please,
going
don't apologize.
on. Do not apologize at all. No.
I feel like I'm talking like 95% of this.
Dude,
and I'm just like going on.
Dude, we want to know how the sausage is made. That's why we're here.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Just keep. We want this info.
Okay.
We
Okay.
love that. We love this stuff. Keep it coming.
All right.
I should also mention at this point, I'm wondering if the financial prime can be, I don't know, arranged to fall down an elevator shaft.
Yes.
I mean, that would be.
Yes, they can be assassinated.
Nice to have him, just not be there anymore.
Yeah, you can kill. You have an assassination, actually, and we'll get into that. That's already in the game. We have Inquisitors, and we haven't even touched on that yet. We haven't touched on, the intel system or any of that. And anyway, so you see where it says production employment. So you see staff total facilities. So these are not like buildings. These are sectors. We're talking millions and millions of people. So that number is how many farming zones you have versus the total facility. So everything is fully staffed. In other words, you're at 100% employment, or not. Well, you're not 100% employment. You're 100% efficiency. The window above that, where it says employed total pops, that's where you see a lot of red. It means you've got a lot of people on this planet that don't have jobs, and that's kind of the state. You'll have some planets, like this is a provincial capital, so a lot of people live here, but that represents kind of a decadent, where a lot of people have moved here, but the economy's been kind of shrinking. And so a lot of people don't have jobs and they move around. So one thing that you can do, even though this isn't your planet, in fact, let's do this. Let's kind of start moving some things. Go ahead and click on the planetary viceroy. Click on the upper right. There you go. Just click on this picture.
I like the "What's up, Doc." Okay, click on this picture.
There's a lot of speech. There's about 500 lines of speech so far. Okay, so let's go to a sign. Okay, so first of all, look here. Look on his. You see on his portrait how they got the shaking hands on the. So click, kind of hover on it. There's a lot of tooltips, by the way, too. Most things that you can see are tooltipped. So hover on the shaking hand icon. Okay, so y'all are friends. So even though, because Kierley Finn, you guys are actually allies. Because remember, that was one of the houses that was friendly to, because you're both scientific folk.
Right.
So y'all are friends. So that means that this person is highly disposed to probably work with you. So if we go to assignment actions, and this is where you start to do something. So you have 3 AP right now. Each action takes 1 AP. So what we're going to do, we need to start building. Go to improve specific economic sector. It's at the very top.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh,
so now this goes into the conversation screen. So now you can pick an economic sector that you want to build up. So right now you got a lot of farmers that aren't employed, but farms don't bring in a lot of money. So the primary way that planets create a gross planetary product is by the type of population they have. So if you have a planet of nothing but farmers and miners, it's not going to make you much money. But you need those planets. I mean, you need food and you need materials. Right. Whereas a planet has primary academies and government, it's going to be very profitable, but then it's going to need, back to the foundation, Trantor needed its 20 worlds of agriculture. Well, that you need to set up a similar system, because the planet will not be self-sufficient. So you have to decide, okay, what do I want to focus on? What am I missing the most of? Which, since this is a provincial capital, you probably want admin, because that generates ADM points, which lead directly towards your projects. Oh, okay. And ADM points are basically how your projects get created. So you clicked on it. So now you're talking to this person, Z Atomic. I need you to develop the admin economic sector. So now here, this is your Grand Vizier. It's kind of listening in or something. I don't know. But you have now a decision score.
He's in another room holding the phone and covering the handpiece.
I don't actually know how that works, but he's listening in somewhere and he's telling you, "Hey, Your Majesty, it appears that he should accede to this request." Because before, and this was a fairly recent addition, you really had no idea. I mean, you kind of had to just guess. And since you're kind of wasting points, and because the power penalty is so severe if you guess wrong, I wanted to give more feedback on this. And I wanted to make it kind of obvious. So green, if it's green text, it should probably happen. If it's yellow, it's iffy. If it's red, they're probably not going to do it.
Oh,
so
nice.
I wanted to give the character clear, and see your decision score is really low. The lower the score, it means the more likely they are, and that's against your power. So that, again, this is why power is important. If your power is low, then you see if your power was like 100, you see that would get a lot. That decision would get a lot testier. But right now he's way below you, so you basically are guaranteed that he's going to accede to that request.
Now, is there still a chance of failure when it's green like that?
There is, but it's very small. See how the power is so much higher? I mean, you've got basically 5 times his power. So yeah, there's a small chance, but you're talking like 0.5% with that level, because basically you are the emperor and you're a powerful emperor. 398 is pretty good. And this guy is like a small time. I mean, he runs a provincial capital, but his personal influence apparently isn't that high, because influence is based both on your position and your personal achievements. So since this guy probably doesn't have a very good political rating, that's going to affect his power, because he's just not very influential. He runs a fairly powerful planet, but he himself is not that respected. So you can cow literally if even if he doesn't like you, even this guy hated you, he would probably still do what you ask simply because you're so much more powerful. But when you start going up to provincial governors and house leaders, you can't just lean on your power, because most of them are going to be similar to you, and you're going to have to figure out other ways of getting them to go along.
Hey, Naniad over in the chat, hello, brings up an interesting point because you mentioned the color usage. He's saying you should have a colorblind option as well, if that's possible.
Yeah, well, and I'd have to do the research, but I mean, that's easy to do. I mean, coloring is trivial. That would not. It's just there's so much text in the game.
I figured as much. It's just that's probably not a bad idea. If we're
no, it's not. Especially to expand the anything to make the game accessible. I don't have a problem with. Yeah. It's easy to change the color. It's just there's just a lot of it, as you can see all over the game. So
you just have to figure out what what color blind.
I have to figure out what colors to use. It's going to be shades of gray.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a great idea. Thank you.
That's great. I'll definitely. I'm writing that down actually right now. Perfect. All right, so go ahead and click confirm. Okay, and then that's a little bit of. Thought I'd gotten rid of most of that. Okay, it's clear that you benefit from more development in that particular sector. So now he's going to do that. So now when you reopen, if you go to build points, click on build points where it says build points 21. So now you see your planetary build focus as admin. So this shows you many points are being derived. So to kind of explain this is a production system. So right now you have 4.7 basic materials, 2.3 heavy materials, and 1.2 rare materials being put into your factories. And your factories, you have factories right now, and they're fully staffed. And that's the little crossed like tools you can kind of see over on the facilities. So those are generating based on the skill of your engineers, 19 basic, 8 heavy, and 3 rare. So everything you build in the game takes a certain amount of basic, heavy, and rare materials. Things like farms take like virtually no rare materials because you don't need them. They just need a lot of basic. Things like spaceships and high-tech sectors like that produce energy, they need a lot more heavy and rare because that's what's used for more high-tech stuff. So you can see right now we've got 60%. And the Viceroy has some sway over how much, when you can just say, and this is kind of where it's kind of exciting because every Viceroy, every character has their own intelligence. They have their own kind of their own plan. So I can tell Viceroy A, hey, I need you to focus on admin. And I can tell Viceroy B, hey, I need you to focus on admin. You could have 2 totally different results. So this guy is all in. He's like, he's got a government focus in his personality. So he's like, yeah, I'm more than happy to build more admin. Whereas Viceroy B may be more altruistic and not terribly interested in power, and they'll go along, but it'll just barely be above, the focus. Like you see, it might be 14%, as opposed to 13 for farms. So he's technically doing what you're asking him, but it's like, I'm just going to do it because I have to. Or there's other guys like, yeah, I'm all over it. Yeah, I got you.
I gotta say, I like how the you've spaced out the UI here. It's
come a long way. And then you can open and close whatever. You don't have to have any of this showing. This is just
I like that.
Kind
I
of.
like that.
And if you click on the total revenue, the big one at the
revenue.
top, the total revenue 352, that
Oh.
gives you the summary.
Yeah, I didn't know these were clickable. I don't know how you would indicate what's clickable.
I
and
probably
what's
need to.
not.
I probably need to put some feedback on that. Have it like light up or something. But yeah, most of the panels on
that's
here
a good
are clickable.
idea. That's a good idea. Light it up like a hover thing that lights up.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I like that. No, there's a lot of good info
Or
here.
just the outline around it gets brighter.
Yeah, just something to show that it's active.
Yeah,
So
I
you
kinda-
can play if you know what you're doing. Like these are your basic. Okay, I know. Okay, I got 21 build points. I'm doing 40%.
But if you want to dig deeper, you totally can.
You want to
which
dig
is
deeper
great.
and know why do I only have 4 build points? Now you can dig in and find out. And I mean, there's so many things you can do. You can, since you have academies on this planet, you can actually, if you go back into actions, I'll just show you. Click on the Viceroy again, like you open up. Go to assignment actions. You can go to change academic focus if you click on that, because you can back out of it. So you can say, hey, I want the academies to make more miners or fluxmen or administrators. You can actually train your own pops. If you can't get them to migrate, you can train them.
That's pretty
But you can
cool.
only do that if you have
Academies.
academies. If you don't have them, you won't even have this option. So,
Right.
or you can pay. If you go back into Merowit, I'll show you something else. Go back into it. Click back onto the planet.
Okay.
Okay, go back into the Viceroy screen. Go to assignment actions. You can go to initiate recruitment of specific pops. So what this does is this basically lets you focus on a specific pop. Like let's say for this example, I didn't have enough build points, so I wasn't building anything because I didn't have enough engineers. Well, I can have my Viceroy basically promote my planet, and basically it's almost like a economic campaign. Hey, engineers, come to our planet. We've got plenty of opportunity. We have a great planet. And of course, their charm and there's some other factors that go into play and how effective it is. But that's another way of getting specific pops. But keep in mind, if you do that, you're pulling them from other planets. So that's actually a strategy. If you're trying to punish another house, like we already said that Milok, they were pretty unhappy with us. You could actually, one strategy and many is you pull away their people by having other planets around them pull away like critical pops that they need, and thus making their planet less effective and bringing their economics to a standstill. I mean, that's just one thing you can do. There's a whole bunch of ways you can go about it.
That's great.
That's how in depth you can get.
So these are the people who work in this system, I guess.
Yeah, and this is just system governor, provincial, and domestic prime.
Oh, you can go right to that person, which is cool if you don't want to.
You can always click directly into it. So,
wow.
So kind of getting back. So the trade. So you see the green line.
Yeah.
So that green line means that province hub will send you the goods in that trade group. So they'll send you food, basic materials for supply. This is
But
again,
nobody else is.
Nobody else is. Yep. So you have to. You can take over that trade hub. You can relocate the province hub into a planet that's more favorable to you. But of course, every time you do, and you just have to think logically. If and there are tooltips and things like that. But basically, if it would piss someone off in real life, if you did it, it will piss them off in the game. If it will make them happy in real life, it will make them happy in the game. So if you take away someone's province trade hub for that house, you're going to piss them off, and you're going to make the other house that you give it to very happy. I mean, there's a lot of common sense involved.
All right, so I want this trade hub to start trading with me.
Okay, so here's what you can do. Click on the province. Click on. Okay, now go to the system governor. You can see it in the chain of command here. Go to the system governor. All the way over, and they look the same. That's what I was saying. Go to the first. There we go.
Oh, I got it. Okay, system governor.
Okay, so click on her. So she's neutral. Okay, so she's neutral. You can see her thing. You guys don't really have any kind of relationship. She's very skilled. Her power is a little bit higher. She has a 4 government administrator skill, and that's very important. Administrator skill comes in handy when you're trying to create projects. You know a fair amount about her. She's pretty competent, so you'd probably want to leave her there. You wouldn't want to kill her or reassign her, but go ahead and go to assignment actions. And you see how you have demand trade network participation?
Oh.
Click on it. So now you risk 15 power if they decline. Now, decision time. It's in yellow. That means it could go either way.
Oh.
So if she says no, you're going to lose 15 power, and she's going to create a challenge against you. If she says yes, then you're going to gain that entire province's trade goods.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Oh!
Damn it!
Oh.
And angry. These goods are for our house. Oh, son of a. Okay, well.
So now you've got now you see, now you've got her, click on her again. And that, I've got to have it. Okay, now she's challenging you.
Oh, no.
So when the challenge system comes in, you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to recruit people and deal with this challenge to your authority. Yep. There's so many things that are just intertwined. So, okay, now you can try it with the other one. Let's see if you have a better luck with the other province.
I think I was the right one. Hang on, let me just.
Yeah, that's it. Yep, volition.
Okay,
now this might go better because he's afraid of you. You see that little click on him?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Oh.
See, you're prey. So he is afraid of you, basically. See, look at the incoming message. Read the incoming message. No, that's his bio. It's down here in the center, lower center.
I've done everything you've wanted from me.
Nice.
He's like, what? He's like, what? I'm doing everything you want, sir. All right,
yeah,
so
they have. Now.
Yes.
But he's not thrilled, so he's not excited about it. But you got it. So now you've got that province, and now you're going to gain a small amount of power because you've been able to do that. Now you notice you've got all this blowing up on your side. You've got all these events. So by you asking this, you have created a relationship either going up or down, because remember, they have relationships with everybody else in the game. So if you, like the first woman, you pissed her off and created a challenge. So her friends are going to hate you more, and her enemies are going to like you more.
Oh, no.
So you see, you've got a lot more because they had a lot of influence. And you can right click. Yeah, there's a bunch.
Oh, my God. Holy crap.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put a filter on this to where that doesn't, because there's a lot. Because the thing is, it was a system governor, which is, if you just do this to someone that like a civilian, someone in your court, very few people are going to care either way. But if you act with a province governor or a house leader, they have a lot of friends, and they'll react. So next turn, that will turn green, and you will start getting that. Oh, but you got to set the budget. So go to the screen now. Go to the dollar sign. That's your economic screen. So now you're going to set your budget for the year. So it works very much. It's a drag and slider. Basically, military. The higher you put your military, the more fear you generate, but the more power you generate. You're basically creating power through the military. Domestic. The higher that goes, you lower unrest. It's not nearly as effective as military, but your popular support will increase by a lot more. And your planets will actually improve their output because you're putting money towards the planets and their infrastructure. Intel, which we haven't even touched on yet, this is how you fund your inquisitors, and you also have informers on each planet that can kind of generate, and this is how you get rumors and secrets and things like that, and increase your intel on characters. You can put informers on planets. Reforms are not in the game yet, but when that happens, you'll be able to basically allocate money towards discoveries, and then savings, anything you don't spend. So remember I said earlier that your house, if you go bankrupt, you lose the game. Mm-hmm. So if you have a negative gross empire product at the end of the year and you cannot make it up by your personal house treasury, then you lose the game. Otherwise, you have to make that up out of your treasury, which right now you have 2,300 billion credits. So you have a pretty big, war chest, and you can put some of this money into savings, and you can allocate it to go directly into your war chest if you so desire. You can also add some directly into your budget for that year, and then that will add to your dollar amounts. But of course, it comes out of your house treasury, and also costs you power because the people see you as weak. You're basically having to subsidize the government, and that doesn't look good.
Right. Okay.
So to set these, you basically drag, and then you can right-click to lock them. You just right-click the handle when you're happy, and it'll lock it.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't put enough money into Intel, that percentage chance, basically, Inquisitors are 100% loyal as long as you pay. And it's not just one person. This is like a whole big squad of people. It's a trained military squad. So right now, the way you have it set, every squad will check for a disbandment because you're not paying them their full amount they're owed, and that's based on their skills and experience. And if the roll is below that, then they will disband after the end of this year.
Oh.
So you're taking a bit of a risk, but that's fine. That's actually a pretty good setting because it costs a lot of money. So go ahead and click on review upcoming budget if you want. Okay, so now it's submitted. So now you see you can end the turn, and that's locked in. And you can also set the holdings tax. So remember I said they get 25%. So the gross empire product, you get 75% of your own holdings. So in other words, you get 146. See how the total GBP is 195? Okay, so 75% of that is 146, and then you're actually getting 27% of that 146. That actually goes into the gross empire product. So you see what a big effect a bad financial prime has. If it's red, then that means you are subsidizing that, and that's coming against your amount. So like Strybog is costing 176 in the red, so that's going against your entire gross empire product. Now here's go down to here's Walden. Okay, see how Walden's owned by Waldegrave? So they have a 13 empire share because their house holdings tax is only 25% instead of 75%. So when you factor in the 27% efficiency, you're only getting about, 3 or 4 billion credits from them. So you can change that house holding tax and you can increase it or lower it, but it costs you 50 power to do that. And then of course, if you increase it, all your houses will cost you more, a little bit. It's not black and white. It's kind of like Paradox games where you get a modifier. If you tick over, it's not like, oh, you changed 30%, we're all going to war. It's not like that, but it's something gradual.
Right. Okay.
But that's how essentially the high level system works. So can you do one more thing for me, please? Can you go to the Thunderbolt, the house screen? I want to show you something. Okay, so now you see on the Emperor reputation on the lower left, now you started doing some things. So now you're starting to gain a reputation with each house. So you have a negative reputation and a positive reputation. Those two factors combined give you overall reputation. So for Milok, you did something they didn't like. So basically you pissed off their, remember this was the house that you needed to have send over the goods. Well, you basically insulted their governor. You screwed up the conversation. And so now they're have a slight negative reputation. It's slight. But if you go to negative 500, see this right now you're at a negative 30. If it goes to negative 500 or greater, then you'll go down a reputation level. So you'll go down to a limited war. So you'll know where you stand. So you'll know how far you can push.
Whoa. See,
here's Kierley Finn. Because they, what did you do? You scared one of their people. Yeah, that's right. You basically
demanding the trade.
Yeah, you coerced one of their people into doing what you asked, which they did it, but they're not going to be very happy about it.
Damn, everyone's
so
unhappy.
Right now, other planets, other houses see this. So remember, in like back in the day, you didn't want a strong king. Like these houses are waiting for even your ally. They're pissed off because they're your ally. You're cooperating with them, and you basically took advantage of their character's fear of you. And there is blackmail in the game already. You can blackmail, you can intimidate. That's all part of Spec Ops. But it's going to have everything you do, every single action you take, every project you take, every action you take, every Spec Op you take will have a reputation hit, either positive or negative. So, and that's really the core of the game. You have to manage these reputations. You have to decide how far can I go to improve my power? What will I do to keep my people happy? Do I need to keep my people happy? Can I rule by force? Can I rule benevolently? If I get the people's high enough, then the houses won't matter. If I can get the my popular support up to 70 or 80%, then I'm going to control the empire that way. And then the houses will bother you because you have the support of the people. They won't ever demand from you. So you have you have a 3.2% assassination chance. Now that is kind of misleading.
I think it went up by 0.2%.
Well, yeah, and it changes every turn. It actually won't go up. It changes every turn. But what that is that's a percentage of a general assassination attempt from your people. That's not like a plot or anything like that. Oh. That is the percentage that a chance will happen. So that's not 3.2% chance of being killed. It's a 3.2% chance every month that an attempt will occur the following turn sometime during that turn. And then that has its own percentage chance of success.
Now, was there a more benevolent way to handle that second trade route request?
Well,
Was there another way to
yes.
coerce him into doing it that was
Well,
benevolent?
yes, you could bribe him. You could become friends with him. You could get to know the character and have a more positive relationship. Yes, basically, you want to have a better relationship. You could have expressed support, which could have potentially changed the relationship from one of a prey to at least a neutral. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of ways. If you want to rule by being a dick, you can certainly do that. But your houses aren't going to like it. They know if you're trying to rule by fear versus trying to rule by, being a good guy, a benevolent guy or girl.
Yeah, that's not my style.
And they will.
I want to be a nice guy. I always want to be a nice guy.
Well, then you would want to show support, give speeches, get to know the characters, increase their power by using these actions. But the thing is, you only had, like last turn, you only had 3 AP. So it takes 2 AP to do a project. So you're done. You're done for this turn already.
Yep.
And so you think, okay, what do I want to do in the next year? Do I want to expand my trade network? Do I want to colonize a planet? Do I want to claim a system? You want to build a star base? Do I want to increase my logistical network so I can explore? All that takes time and AP, and you have very limited amounts of both. So it's processing. It takes probably about 20 seconds to process a turn. This is a decent sized small empire. Yeah, there's a lot going on. This is something. Go. Okay,
stuff is happening. Whoa.
Okay, there you go. So now you got some stuff going on.
Ooh, unrest decreased. Okay, that's good. Let's see. Unrest crushed. That's good. Population gain. Okay, good. No assassination plot. Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, it just reminds you. But see, look, your power went down. See?
Yeah.
It went down. It went from 396 to 380, and your assassination chance increased.
Yep. But I have
because
more action
you lost
points
a tiny bit. Yep. Well, and that's semi-random. You'll always have at least 2, so you can do a project, but that's semi-random. You never know how many action points you'll truly have. And the longer you go in the game, the more experience and older you get, that baseline will gradually increase. But when you're just starting out, it's assumed that you're kind of don't know what you're doing, and so you have very few action points. So this simulates your experience. Yeah. So here's the thing. So you're negative 392. So right now, if this took place, and again, this is assuming nothing changed in your empire. So you have a whole year to turn it around. You don't have to worry about it until the end of this year. But this is what the game gives you a chance. So if you go to economic screen, so now you can take a look. Okay, where am I getting hit? And see if you look at every planet in red, it means it's losing money. So if it's a planet that you own, then you can directly control it, and you'll be able to kind of directly go to that planet and kind of talk to their viceroy. So that's our planet. So, but what's funny is you have someone not of our house running it, which is interesting. So they're, kind of afraid for you. Now this is an AI. So remember me telling you they can go now look at their skills. So you probably should keep this person involved because they have phenomenal mining and I can't think, engineering skill. So if you build a lot of factories or do a lot of mines, they're going to be tremendously effective. What they do is this actually translates. So basically this is what it is. So they're super skilled at mining, let's say. That's what this represents. So they are gradually able to, through their admin skill, which is only a 1, so that kind of limits it somewhat. But if they had a high admin skill, that determines kind of the funnel and how effective they are at kind of teaching and kind of manipulating their planet to like better utilize like better techniques, better training, more effective, surveying, this is for like mining, that kind of all that's simulated by this score and then by the administrator. So this AI, he's super smart, but he's not very good at actually affecting change. Because he has an admin skill of 1. Now that increases over time as they get more skilled. And the thing about AI is that they don't die because they're AIs. They can be, offline, but they can be eliminated, but they don't die normally. So this would be worth kind of in the final version of the game when you're able to train. Their administrator score will go up slowly. They have a chance every turn of going up, and AIs have a greater chance of going up than regularly. So The higher their administration score goes, the better they are at being able to basically funnel their knowledge into their planet. So this is a very indirect way of shaping your planet. So if you put an administrator in that had, say, a viceroy had an administrator of 4, and they had a skill of 100, they would be a lot more effective than this guy who has a skill of 200, but he's very inefficient at actually training his people. Again, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But in the late game, that AI would be...
Yeah, it would be phenomenal. So if you fire him now, you're missing out down the road. So right now, so here's your problem. So the planetary ADL, see the Viceroy economic skill is 62. That's not bad. That's, remember, it goes from 0 to 100 normally. That's fine. Your problem is you don't have any retail sector whatsoever, and you've got a tremendous amount of infrastructure, which means you've got a lot of, because keep in mind, this is a decaying empire.
Right.
So you probably have a lot of cities that are decaying, and you have a lot of basically space, like large cities that are kind of crumbling, but you don't have a lot of people that actually live there. Well, you still have to keep all this stuff up. So if you go to the overview command mode, go down to it's the little leftmost. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so this shows you right now you have 79 current population of 193 potential. So your planet has infrastructure right now to be able to hold 193 million. So your planet is less than half full. Well, you're paying for all that to be upkept. So there is a project that you can undertake to actually remove that infrastructure. It's actually under demographic mode. If you go to demographic command mode, it's the one with the people. So if you go to create project over here, so you can go to demolish surplus planet infrastructure. So what this does is this basically, I mean, you can read it, but basically takes out 50% of all unused infrastructure. So in this case, you had 193 total, 79 was being used. So it would take 50% of the difference and would basically remove it. So you would gain back some materials, and it would cost you a lot less infrastructure. But if you decide you want to grow this planet in the future, it takes forever to build infrastructure. It's kind of organic. It's kind of an ongoing process. But if you demolish it and you decide later on, yeah, I really want Bobby hub for a military hub, or I need it to really grow, then you're going to have to build that infrastructure manually, and it's very, very expensive. So again, it's a trade-off. So what I would recommend, rather than doing that, I mean, it depends on what you want to do, but I would look at increasing the retail sector.
Yeah, where were we? There we go. This one.
So if you go to the economic mode again, see how you have a 0. You have
zero dedicated to retail. Yes.
Yeah, you have 14 merchant efficiency. So go ahead and click on the Viceroy. Go to assignment. Okay, now you're getting it. Yeah, so you're going to change retail allocation percentage. So now keep in mind that just leave me alone. Sorry, just jumpy. Here too. There's about 500 lines of text already in the game, and by the time it's done, it'll probably have close to 2,000.
That's pretty.
Because
great.
I want the whole point of the game, but you need to feel like you're the emperor. You're talking to real people, and that's what I've always annoyed me about Paradox, like Crusader Kings. I never feel like I'm talking to real people because you're just clicking a menu. You don't ever get any feedback. I mean, you get plots once in a while, but I want you to feel like you're talking to real people. You have real relationships. They rise and fall based on how you treated these people, and their speech will change, and it changes based on how you treated them. If you've betrayed someone, they're going to tell you. They're going to remind you. If you've backstabbing them or if you've blackmailed them, they're going to tell you. You're going to know what you've done to these people. They're going to remind you. They have a history. They have a memory. Right. So I would keep in mind that the higher your retail sector percentage, this is money you are using food, basic and heavy materials, because you're basically using these goods to build stuff, widgets and whatnot to sell to your retail stores. So that will come out of your total. But you've got plenty of basic materials. You've got plenty of food. So I would probably put it around 40%.
40. Oof. Okay.
Yeah, pretty high. But and this is where I was talking about. You can look at this planet's worldliness, like their overall world, and if it's a 9 or a 10, that's something you could do to verify. But just for now, because we're kind of playing around, just go ahead and confirm. And you can see here, he definitely will probably do that. So your chance of failure is very low. Okay. And
All right,
he agrees. Okay. So now, when you click on, go ahead and click on the summary, unclick it and click it back.
Wait, click
on
what?
the total revenue, click on the total revenue bar, close that window. They don't quite, okay, reopen. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, click on the political command mode. Or any command mode, doesn't matter. Now go back. Okay, now go back to economic. I've got to kind of rewrite the update. Okay, now go to total revenue. Click on the box. See now, oh, you know what? No. Go to political command mode. Go to political command mode. It's the one with the little demographic. There you go. Okay, now go back to economic. There we go. No, it's not updated. That's weird. Okay, zoom out. Go ahead and zoom out. Pick another planet. Just any other planet. Okay, now zoom back in. And now go back to that planet, and now it should update. It should update now. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now you've got a slightly higher retail sector, and that takes time to build. You don't automatically see it. It takes time for your merchants to kind of build their network and, get their, you basically said, okay, I'm building a lot of goods for you to your merchants. And if you have too few merchants on the planet, it won't matter. You can have way too many goods and no one to sell them. But the good news is if you have a big retail sector, that's a way of drawing merchants from other planets because they see, hey, you got a lot of goods on this planet to sell. I need to get in on that action. So that's a way of drawing merchants in, especially if you're trying to increase your trade fleets and things like that. Like I said, there's several different ways to come at a problem in this game. Right. You just have to be creative. There's probably ways I don't even know about, but just players will kind of think about how the systems work and be able to come up with even better ways.
Right. Now, this create project thing over here, there's this one, there's one that's ever present. But
yeah, so that's a rival house. Yeah, they're doing their projects too. They have full AI. They're doing their own thing in the world. So the houses, if you go to the house screen, go ahead and open up the house screen. It doesn't matter. You can be on any, it doesn't matter. It's the one with the lightning bolt. It's your sigil up there. Sorry. So if you click on Curly Finn, so they're okay, there you go. So you see you have an intel of 65. They're in green. So you know what they're trying to do. This is below their historical summary. This shows you their ultimate strategy, which is gain territory, and their secondary strategy, which is claim systems. If you have not full intelligence, you won't know that. Like if you click on Horlock, so you know they're trying to claim systems. Your Inquisitors or whoever. And they're your friends too, and that helps too a lot for intel because they're probably just telling you. But if you go to Horlock, so you don't know anything, you don't know what they're doing. So if they're building a project, it'll just have question marks all the way across it. You'll know they're doing something, but you don't know what. So
got it.
Let's do this just so we can show the intel system. Go to Horlock, click on Horlock. We're going to assign an Inquisitor because we probably want to know we're at Cold War with them. They have 3 holdings. They could be dangerous. So go down to where it says assign Inquisitor. It's at the bottom. And we're going to assign an Inquisitor to this planet, to their throne world. So they have an espionage rating, which is a little, eye and sword. And then they have a spec ops rating, which is a little cards. So the higher, the better. And then that shows their mission preparedness, which is no mission. They're just kicking it basically on New Terra right now, waiting for something to do. So you can assign one of these to the target. And there you go. So now when you reopen the screen, you'll see a little death's head on top of their logo. That shows that they have an Inquisitor. Like if you close and open the window and then reopen it, you'll see they have a little death's head over the Horlock, over their sigil. So that lets you know that they have an Inquisitor now assigned to that house. And then once they're assigned to the house, they can do things like spec ops. Right now they're doing passive intel. Let's go ahead and open up the intel screen. We haven't really even talked about that. Oh, there's so much, Brian. So much. Okay, go to intel. So this is kind of a work in progress because plots and rumors haven't been added yet. And I also need to add the Prime Inquisitor on here. But you can see what they're doing. And from here, you can see your intel budget. You can see how much your Inquisitors cost. And then you can see what you have for informers. Right now, you don't have an informer budget. But if you had excess intel over what your Inquisitors would cost, then that extra money can be used for informers. And then spec ops costs money too, and that goes against your project as well. So right now, you see you assign Gabriel Lantos. He's preparing missions. He's at 0% because he just started. That that's represents him flying out to the home world or the throne world, getting his assets in place, putting boots on the ground, spy stuff. And then once that's at 100%, then he will start gathering intel. If you hit examine on Gabriel Lantos, go ahead. And this opens up kind of a modified version of the character screen, but it's for Inquisitors. So it kind of shows what they're doing. Now you see he has Intel Spec Op actions. So you can change what he's doing from here. If you click on it, you can actually assign to active intel, or you can prepare a special operation. Now against houses, you'll be able to sabotage their facilities. You'll be able to steal from them. You can steal materials and money. And put them in your own. But of course, if you're found out, that's house is going to be royally pissed. So again, risk reward.
Right.
But then you can also assign Inquisitors to characters. And that's how you do spec ops like intimidate, assassinate, bribe, blackmail, that kind of stuff. This is the same way. You attach them to a character, and then that character will have a new Intel Spec Op action bar. You see it wasn't on there, the characters you picked, because you didn't have an Inquisitor attached. Once you attach an Inquisitor, you will then have the options to go directly and select a spec op for them.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And then you can also put them in training, which actually I would go ahead and train Boltzmann. Lantos, he's a 1-1, so go ahead and train. So now he's training, so his XP will go up slightly. You're still paying him, but it'll take him a few turns. Depending on the number of turns he's been training, it'll take a few turns to kind of get them back up for duty. But I find it's better to train. I mean, you want to have at least a 2. A 1 is pretty bad for intel. It takes forever to gain new intel. 2's better. A 3 or 4 is really what you want. You can go as high as 10.
Oh, all right.
And then you can stand them down, which basically means you're not using them. They're basically kind of on standby. You don't have to pay them, but then they take a number of turns to work up equal to the number of turns they've been stood down. So if you're trying to save some money in that budget, that's another way of doing it. So here's where you can kind of see, now here's your grand strategy starts to play. You got to think about, okay, what friends with? What houses do I need to look out for? Right now I have a negative gross empire product. How am I going to make that positive? What plans do I need to focus on? If I've got a high leverage planet, and I've got a hostile viceroy, what do I do? Do I get rid of the viceroy? Do I try to bring them over to my side? Do I, exile them? Do I try to work with them? Do I try to be their friend? Do I try to support them publicly? What do I do? Do I just take the holding? Do I just rip it, the holding? Go to house actions. If you go to house actions right here, I can just reassign empire holding that. Well, this is my holding. So actually I can give my holding away. Say it's a huge a loss leader. I can give this house holding that's a huge money drain, because guess what? It drains their treasury too. So if I give it to another house, I mean, it's a holding, but then they're responsible for bringing it back and making it profitable, not me, and it will come off my gross empire product. But see, so that's their power. So I can give Milok, hey Milok, crappy planet. See, so now you're talking to the house leader, and they can actually decline. They can actually see through you, and they'll consider the quality of the planet. So he's like, nah, wait a minute, you're giving me a crappy planet.
I see that flaming bag.
Hang on a second, that bag is full of poo. All right.
Because normally as a house, you'd be like, yeah, I want a holding. That's how you generate ADM for pride. That's how they grow and build their military. But if it's a terrible planet, they're going to be like, wait a minute. And this also depends on their intelligence and some other factors. Some if they're all about expansion in their personality, they might just take the planet anyway, even if they hate you, just because it's a planet. So there's a lot of depth in the game. I mean, there is a lot of depth in the game. And so it's kind of one of those games where you kind of understand how to play. It's very captivating while you're trying to figure out how to get. Now you see how the lines are green, because now you've got.
Yeah. Trying to figure out what I can do with these planets that are terrible. What's going on here?
So it's a big help when they're your planets, because your viceroys generally will always do what you ask. So, and this is, again, if you don't have enough people in your house, then, and remember, it generates that history. So it may have been somewhere along the way that the previous regime had someone from Waldegrave help, maybe because they wanted to give the empire a bone or give the house a bone, or they needed to. You don't really know that story, but you will not always have viceroys from your house controlling your holdings, which also adds a little bit to it. Now you're free to boot them. If it's your holding, you can boot them out and replace them.
Right. I like that. I love this retail strategy because they're doing barely anything with retail, and that might help a lot. So blank. And now I'm out of actions.
Okay. Yep. And so you've done everything you can. So go ahead and turn. You see the inspiration. They're trying to claim a system, and next turn I'll show you how the claim system works because that's important. That's part of the political aspect.
Got it.
Like I say, so you can't just claim. Well, as the emperor, you can claim. So it's different. In most 4Xs, when you see a planet you want to colonize, what do?
You send a colony ship.
Yep, that's it. And it doesn't matter, unless someone beats you to it. Basically, you always colonize that planet. It doesn't matter where or whatever. So now in the world of Alliance of the Sacred Sons, you actually have to put a claim on a system first. So think of it as like a land grab, back in the US, you can't just look at a system and you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to colonize that. You have to put a claim first on that system, because here's the thing. Other houses have varying degrees of influence on that system, depending on how close their own holdings are and how much influence they have in that system. So you may be encroaching on a system that, even though it's unoccupied and unclaimed, another house has a higher claim to, which I'll show you once the turn processes. I'll show you kind of how to see that and kind of how that works.
All right, let's see what we got here.
All right.
Unrest crushed. Well, that's good. Population gain. Okay.
So Serene. So that means they probably notice that. And most of the time you won't have it, Okay, so go ahead and go to, see, that's dropping a little bit. So something you want to kind of see. Okay, the first thing, go to the political command mode. Keep it in the galaxy view, but go to political command mode. Okay, zoom in. Go ahead. Okay, so you see these numbers under each house's sigil. So that shows the amount of influence that they have on these systems. So systems that are not claimed, the house that's the bigger icon, they have the most influence. So right now, Curly Finn is trying to claim inspiration. Well, I should have that claim. If I claim that system, no one would dispute me because I have the most influence based on planets that are nearby and culture and etc. But over here, if you go over to Dystera. Yeah, go ahead. Now you see over here, I've got Xiaohao, which is an influence of 106. So I kind of radiate influence where now, even though Ametherine they have an influence of 128, I still have more influence because that's their only holding. But I have holdings in other constellations that have a minimal effect, but they still have a cumulative effect. So,
I see. Oh, wow.
Whereas over here, see, because I've got kind of my holdings spread out. But if you have a constellation where you don't have a holding, you're not going to be the primary for that. So if you try to claim a system that you aren't number one in that category where you don't have a natural claim, the house that you're trying to claim it from will basically issue a challenge and say, hey, basically, what are you doing? You're trying to claim a territory that should be ours. Even though they haven't claimed it yet, they are still going to be upset.
Well, they would see it as encroachment.
Basically, exactly. So it's kind of like, well, it's not. I didn't claim it, and they will. Strategy. They may not be in an aggressive territory strategy, but hey, this is still my kind of think of it as like a core province. I guess in Europa Universalis, core provinces versus, attained provinces. They would consider it like a holding in weight or a holding in trust, even though they haven't done anything with it. This is the best way to think about it. But again, if you lower their influence somehow, then you will lower their influence on that system, and then you will reduce their claim. And you can do that any number of ways. You can take away their holding. With them, you can increase your own influence nearby. So yeah.
I clicked. I clicked this.
Oh, you can't do anything with that yet. No, that just shows you right now. You will be able to open up showing you more details about the project. But right now, it's just letting you know that they are trying to claim the system, inspiration, and it could be anywhere between 1 and 4 turns because you have limited intel. Once you have maximum intel, it'll tell you exactly how many turns.
Right. Okay. So
So you increase your holdings tax. So now next turn, now you see how the empire share.
It went. It didn't stick. Hang on.
Oh, you got to hit change. You got to actually click the change button. Yeah, you got to click the change button in the middle.
Got it. Okay, I did.
Okay.
Because, geez. So let's see.
Right.
We get. I think we might have to get rid of this guy.
You might have to. I mean, it's a thing. It's a choice. So if you want to do that, you need to go to assignment actions. You need to go to reassign character. There's 2 ways to do it. Reassign character will reassign him to a holding. That just says I'm going to put you in charge of one of my planets or another post that I have available. Now I can't assign him to another house's holding because I control over that holding. I can only assign him to another council position or a holding. Whereas if I swap character, then I'm basically booting him and making him a. And so this shows, the people that you can swap with. If you reassign character, it's going to show basically it's going to swap them. So right now he'd be a courtier. So if you want to swap him, if you want to put him in charge of like a planet, system, or province, if you want to lessen the hit, if you want to make him like a province governor, you can hit swap characters, that button up there, and it will open up a filter that you can pick to swap with like a province governor ship that you own, or a system governorship that you own, or a viceroy that you own. And that just is right now you have the whole empire. You can also sort by house. You can also sort by power, admin, intelligence. So you don't have your own. You have to click on your own house if you want. Right now you're seeing everything but your own house. If you click the box, the VLOX, so you're filtering. So now you're only going to see your people. Okay, so unclick. Click on the house box again on the top. There you go. Okay, and if you want to get rid of that box, you have to again. Like if you want to. Okay, I see what you're doing. You're just kind of looking to see. Okay, that box drives me nuts. I like to hide it, but anyway, that's how you do it, and then that will take effect immediately. So if you want to swap him with a viceroy. Like remember you got that super AI sitting somewhere, he might make a really good, he had an economic skill of like 70. So, that's something to consider. So if you want to do that, what you need to do is just put VLOX, just select VLOX and then swap character. Yeah. And then undo. Okay. And then just click on the viceroy, which is the 1 dot. See how it's red? It goes viceroy, you can click on it. Okay. Now go to undo the house, unclick it, the house button, or no, go click swap character. Okay, unclick the house icon. Okay, now click on Viceroy by itself. Just by itself.
I don't see Viceroy.
See where it says Viceroy? It's the button, it's the rank button. So you see where it says character filter in the middle? So you have Viceroy, System Governor, Province Governor, and then Council. So those are, okay, there you go. So this is, you can swap with this person right now because you have the, you own New Terra. And see, these are the system governors that you own, and now you have the province governors that you own. So you can swap with any of those. But see, right now you only have one holding that you have your own person in place. Now, if you want to swap out that AI, you have to select his house, which I believe was Waldegrave.
Malak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see.
So, and if you don't swap character, it just opens up the commoners, which is called I forget the name, not the proles, basically your court. And basically you're busting him to a courtier. That's right, courtier.
None of these guys have good economic either.
Well, they don't. That's why they're in the court. They're not typical, but you'll find, but you will find a diamond in the rough. Like right now, you've got someone that go to intelligence. If you click on the right where it says that's your filter, it'll sort by intelligence. It goes power, admin, intel, charm, empathy. So if you go to the person here, so if you don't know that much about a person, this can give you some hints about how good they might be. And you might want to spend some time with them or even assign an inquisitor to them to gain knowledge. But you're right, most of them. But here's one that you don't know. Go one more. Okay, here we go. We know very little about her, but typically, Barwan, they're terrible with economic anyways. You can look at a house's their traditions and kind of get a sense of how their character. And they're terrible. Their thing is manufacturing. That's what they're good at. So here's what I recommend, or you can exile a character, or you can just remove them from the post, and then but that's a more hostile way of doing it.
Yeah.
But at least with an assignment, you can basically say, hey, I'm not firing you outright. I'm going to give you. You can also designate for assignment. What that will do is that will do the same thing as the swap, but it gives you 3 months to actually give them a new position. So you don't have to make the decision right away. So it will make them a courtier, but they won't take this terrible, like, I hate you hit, because what you're saying is like, look, I need to reassign you, but I'm going to give you something else within 3 months. And if you don't do it, of course, after 3 months, then they're going to be really pissed. But you get kind of a grace period to kind of, find a better position or maybe colonize a planet that you want to put them in charge of or something like that.
God,
I gotta say, I love this complexity.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, I'm just talking and I'm just like, it's almost 2 hours. We're almost out of time. I feel like I haven't even talked about half the game. Isn't that ridiculous?
We can keep going. I don't know what your day is like, but I got time.
Go ahead and hit swap. I'm curious to see what he'll do. Oh, you know what? Never mind. Actually, it won't work. That's a little bug because you're designated for assignment. It actually shouldn't open that up because it'll automatically put them in. It should put them automatically as a commoner. So go reassign character. Go to houses. Open up houses. Go bar one. Bar one is big on. They're big on merchants. So go bar one and let's see what their people have. Don't swap. Just go to Empire. Just go to Empire. Okay. They don't have. Okay, there we go. See, but you take a chance because they are heavily. Gilded worlds are very merchant based, and Barwan as a whole typically has very strong economic characters. So you would be taking a bit of a chance because your intel is not high enough. So what you could do, you could get to know the character, and hopefully they'll be okay with that, which they should. And then you'll get a little more intel. Or you could assign an inquisitor to them to kind of learn more. But right now, if you do it, you're kind of taking. Anything's better than what they have. Pretty much any person you put now will be better than what you got. But the question is, do you want to piss off this house and all the negative repercussions for someone that's just a little better, or do you want to hit a home run and put someone in there that's awesome and that will fundamentally change your strategy?
Decisions.
So
I'm doing it.
You can.
I'm doing it because I want to see what happens.
So they have to do it. If you read their character, they have to. But it's a question.
God.
Well,
Damn it.
And that's the thing. If you don't do the intel, it doesn't. It's not always guaranteed. If you there's going to be that random ability. So if you go ahead and open her up. Yeah, you're going to get rid of her too. Powerful position. So when you had her as just a commoner, she would have absolutely gotten to know you. Now that you've put her in as basically one of the second most powerful person in the Empire, now her power skyrocketed, and now you've basically put her power and her decision score is going to be higher because she's with a house that's not friendly to you, and she's neutral, but the house is not friendly to you, and that matters too.
Okay.
So she's probably not going to go for it. So what you'll probably need to do is assign an inquisitor. But that's one of the knock-on effects is when you do that. See how her power went to 121.
Yeah. How do you assign?
So I would assign an inquisitor to her. So go to where it says Intel Progress, and now there's a button that says Assign Inquisitor.
Wait a minute.
See incoming. Now go up. There it is. You went over it. There it is. There it is. It's green. Okay. So now I would assign Terminator. because he has a higher intel. So there, now the Inquisitor is attached. So now you'll be able to get some better info and some information. You can potentially even get rid of her.
Damn.
And that's Alliance.
Damn. What else can I do with these planets that are terrible? Let's see what's going on with this one. Is it this one?
And folks, we're just a couple of turns into the game.
Yeah, this is like
he's done 2 turns.
This is like turn 2 or 3.
Three.
I'm not saying that as a bad thing, mind
No.
you. I'm just saying that's how impressive this whole
so many
complexity.
strategy games that we were talking about earlier. So many strategy games are like turn, 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 turn. Here it's like must do all the things first. Each turn takes an hour.
Well,
there's so much.
Not necessarily. Once you get,
I know. But
so here's what's going on with this planet. The planetary ADL is super low. So go ahead and open up where it says Focus Factories production level. That opens up the screen of who's on the planet. So go ahead and click on that. Okay, see, you've got mainly farmers and miners.
Oh, shit.
Remember I told you earlier, if you have a planet with a bunch of farmers and miners, they don't make much money. They're farmers, they're miners, they don't make a lot. You have very few merchants, which actually are your most highest source. And you've only got 2 administrators. You've only got 1. You've got 4 fluxmen. You've got 4 academics. You've got 7 engineers. You just don't have that many. You've got 2 administrators on a system capital. That's terrible. This planet is very poorly run, and that is by design, because again, you're taking over an empire that's kind of fallen into decay. So you're not getting the most. Some planets are great. Some planets are very well run, and they're making a ton of money. But that's part of the game, is that some of them you got to, if they were all great plans, you would do, right?
Right. So
this is kind of a puzzle within the puzzle. So
I just told them to recruit more administrators.
Okay, and that's something because you've got the slots for it. Now, what you also might want to do is have them start building more admins. See what they're building right now? They're focusing on factories. So that's probably not what you need. It says below build points. On the left-hand screen, see it says focus factories. It just shows you from there. So you probably don't need factories as the focus. You probably should change that to admin.
So
you're going to improve specific economic sector.
Oh, and then got it.
And then admin. There you go. And like I say, people generally respond as you expect them to. Much less powerful characters will almost always do what you ask. More powerful characters will do what you ask if you're friends or if there's a reason or if they're inclined to do so. And then of course you have those, and you see everything power. When your power drops, now these characters that are in fear of you now, when you get down to the 200s and maybe even 100s, now they're not in fear. Now they're going to start being like, oh, I can stand up to the Emperor, because they've got a great house behind them. So the power is really everything. This game, everything revolves. You lose your power, you've got to do everything you can to start increasing it, whether you got to get your military going, whether you got to start spamming projects, just exploring the stars. Even if you have no intention of colonizing a planet or a system, just exploring it will make your people happy and show that you're doing something. And that's all built into the system.
And how?
But of course you need
Sorry, I was going to say, how do you explore?
We haven't even done project. We haven't even talked about projects. 2 hours in, and that's like a critical part. Well, you're out of action points, so you can't do it.
Right. Let's see.
So next turn, we're going to do a project to show you how that system works.
I was about to ask. Let's do that. Is that how you explore and stuff? Is you have empire projects?
Yeah, everything is through projects. You're not moving around fleets or any of that. That's and actually military will work. Oh, good. You get to talk to someone. I was kind of hoping. Okay, so Kirli Finn did place their claim. So now you've got Barwan. Now they're looking to do something on Radicat, but you don't know what because you don't have enough intel. You just know they want to do something on this planet. Oh, good. You get to talk to. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you get to talk to someone. See, as your power starts to drop. Okay, good. But they're an ally, so that's good.
Okay. So let's system claimed.
And don't right click on the character. You only have 3 turns to talk to. So you want to left click on power. Yeah. If you accept a demand or a threat, you lose power because your people are like, oh, hey, my emperor got strong armed into doing something, and so it shows a lack of power. But if you don't accept a threat or a demand, then that house is going to be very angry. So you have to again weigh: is it worth pissing off this house to maintain my power? Actually, your power will increase. Tell this other house to F off, your people will be like, yeah, there you go. And you will increase your influence. But then, so you have to decide, and this is why you cannot possibly make every house happy. You're going to piss off somebody eventually. The longer you play, you're going to get to a point where you can make everyone kind of happy, kind of unhappy, and kind of keep everyone in the middle. But that's really not the best way to play. You really need to go all out on one, because it takes a while to increase their trust and the diplomatic up to a point where you can ask them for a better relationship. But by doing that, you're going to ignore other houses, and then you're going to lose their relationship. And we'll talk about projects in a minute, and you'll see another way. So I would go ahead and there's no bad. If you plan on purely Finn being a part of your plans, then that's a good thing to do.
Ooh, I only have
so
one.
Okay, well,
I guess I can't do much right now.
Yeah. So you can look at an action. Now you'll notice another thing: when you install a new viceroy, it takes time for them to get up and running. So you can't just spam a 200 economic and stick them on a planet, and now they've like quintupled their gross domestic product. You have to. It takes time. It takes about a year for them to kind of power up and get their full efficiency. So you have to plan ahead.
Right. But I don't know what I can do.
I just go ahead and turn just to kind of get to the next. And you see the little trade fleets moving all around the galaxy. I wanted the Empire to feel alive.
I don't see that. Where am I looking?
Oh, well, if you zoom in, when you zoom in, you'll see them. They're kind of small. This is another thing that probably, it's kind of jumpy right now. It's the turn processing is not very efficient. This is one of those areas that needs work.
Yeah, because this is a beefy computer.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's basically Unity, and everything needs to be code. But the coroutines aren't. Some of especially the pops, when it's calculating everything with the pops, it takes a while because there's thousands of pop objects, and they all have their own ideas, and they all have their own stats, and they have things like happiness and how happy they are about the planet. And if they're unhappy, they can riot. Like we haven't even talked about that either. We haven't riots. We haven't talked about happiness with the planet. That's what causes them to migrate, which you can control. There's demographic projects.
Right. Come on, buddy. I want to try at least one project.
It's just about done. Yeah, you'll see. It'll pop in events. There you go.
Oh, hey.
So you see, as your power continues to drop because you haven't done anything. The people are basically like, you've gone half a year and you haven't done a single project, and you've gotten rebuffed by several people. So your power has dropped, like, from the 300s. It's people's confidence in you. Yeah, that's exactly it. So if people have no confidence in you, you're a figurehead. So now they want materials. Well, they want 10% of your entire heavy material stash because you only have 4,115. So when you start doing projects, 10% is a lot. Heavy materials are harder to get than heavy materials are like heavy alloys, things you need for like if you're building logistical networks, if you're building star bases, trade outposts, colonization, you need heavy materials. So another decision: do you want to lose 10% of your heavy materials overnight, but make them happy, or do you want to not and have them be pissed?
Oh boy! Oh shit!
Okay.
Oh shit! Wait.
Yeah, here we go.
They want a donation of basic materials. 25.
Well, they're only asking for 25.
Oh yeah, that's easy. Be gone from my holo.
If you do it, you give in, you lose power.
Because it's a demand, not a request.
It's a demand. This person's publicly threatening you in front of the Empire and saying, you give me material. That's a demand. That's why it's in red and flashing red and yellow.
I'm not. Yeah, I said no. All right, now how do we do projects?
Okay, so what do you want to do?
I don't know.
Let's explore a star system. Okay, so let's go open up, zoom in a little bit. Okay, first of all, go to the military command mode. Okay, so you have logistical networks throughout the Empire. This shows how far you can go and what planets you can actually reach. Pretty much most projects, you have to be within a logistical network. Now, they don't have to be touching. It's not like Star Drive, but you have to at least be covered by, because, you had to build this chain of anyway. But no, they don't have to touch, but they just have to be covered. So when they're within the network, you can do most projects. Otherwise, the only projects you can do if they're not covered are exploration missions. So let's go to go to the Arcania. It's up in the northwest corner. Go northwest. Okay. No, I'm northeast. I'm sorry. I don't know my directions. Northeast. Okay, Arcania. So we're going to. Okay, yeah, I know it's a little fidgety. Let's take a look at Ascension. It's on the top of the constellation. Now you have a claim on it. Let's go ahead and zoom in. So it's got some juicy planets. It looks like we got a Terran planet, maybe an ice planet.
Right.
So that could really be, but you don't really know that much about it. So what we're going to do a project to survey the system. So go ahead and click. So go ahead and zoom out. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's not covered. Okay, so the only thing you can do is send a fleet, but you can still send a survey probe. That's fine. This is how you can get to any system outside of the, but they're more expensive. Okay, so now this is the project. So what projects are, so again, in a normal 4X, how do you build something on a planet? What do you do? Like I want to build a factory. What do you do?
Just build it. You just say build this, do, go. That's it. Yeah.
You just put it on a queue and
no one complains.
4 to 6 turns.
Yeah, no one complains. It's just done. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't affect anything. Doesn't affect any. Nobody cares. So the way projects are handled. So again, thinking in terms of an empire. So I've got this huge project, like I'm sending a fleet or I'm building an entire probe. My characters want to get in on that. Okay, so by being attached to projects, it gives them influence and it gives them power. And your people see these projects being done, and it gives them pride in most cases. Now, here's the thing: you have to select an administrator. This administrator is important because you see the skill number right below ADM. It's got their name and then ADM and then skill. The skill number is their administrator skill. That is the number of people that they can attach to the project. So if they can only attach one, it means they can only attach one person to that project. So they better be able to fund it 100%, and they better have a lot of ADM, which ADM is basically the planetary level resources needed to complete these projects. So for you, go to houses. Go ahead and go to houses on the filter. Right now, you only have bar 1, which they don't like you that much. So the ones that are even willing to help that's why their numbers are so low. See their skills like wealth. Okay, so that'll sort. See now, oh look, this is your house leader. So he's got a skill of 6, and he is tremendously willing to help you. But the thing is, it gives all the power for this project. So this is a good way of giving a boon to a house that you're trying to improve relationships with. And sometimes you just have to bite the bullet on efficiency. Like you could go through your house and you could get projects done faster. But if you're only ever giving projects to your house and your house characters, all the other houses are looking at this going, well, wait a minute. Why can't I get in on this? Because, this is a profit opportunity. I mean, when you build something, there's money to be made. Mm-hmm. There's prestige. So all the other houses are going, wait, why aren't I getting on this cut? And they're all going to slowly, have a negative influence. So sometimes you have to just bite the bullet and take less skilled people. Now, Kierley Finn is your ally. So see how he's got 150%. But look at his travel. Go to travel. So they have to go to the planet that's being launched from. The closest planet that this can be launched from it would take him 7 turns to get there, because their home throne world is all the way. It's like in the southwest corner of your empire, and you're up in the northeast corner. So that travel time is going to be accounted for.
Right.
So a good one. So actually, I would use. You know what? And also keep in mind that when you use a system governor or province governor, you're not able to use their ADM. So if you pull a province governor, you're basically taking away the entire admin for all the systems in that province and all the planets in those systems.
Oh shit. Okay.
So in theory, it might be better to use a courtier on that.
A courtier or a house leader. Typically, you want to use house leaders. In theory, you can use anyone that agrees. The game will not limit you in that regard, because, if you really want to butter up a specific province governor and, to use an administrator, because then they get half the power of the project, and they'll usually that's enough to increase your relations by one level. But you lose their entire province's ADM because they're not available to coordinate that.
Okay.
So for the moment, because you have a lot of people that don't like you very much, I would go ahead and just use Qualtor Lantos, your house leader, because he's got a travel of 1. Just drag and drop. There you go. And that's a bug. You can't see the actual card, but you are dragging. It's just you can't see it.
Oh, okay.
So now you see you have 6 slots opened up.
Yeah, for contributors.
So now you can add up to 6 characters. So now the only thing is you have to have 100% of 10. So they have to contribute $10 billion total. So you see where it says funding 100%, funding 31%. That's the amount that they will contribute. And that if they like you and they're allied with you, they'll typically, and they have the money. I mean, they have to have the money. They will contribute 100%. If they don't like you, they will contribute less. And if they don't like you at all, they won't contribute anything. So again, if all your houses hate you, you're relying only on your own houses to do these projects. You see how quickly you'd run out of, ADM at the very least to do anything. So let's go to sort by ADM first. What I like to do is go ADM and then fund it. So go to ADM. So now these are all, so what the red means, basically it's outside of the chain of command of this project. Because this planet is not in any province, it's not connected to any system or province, it's less efficient because there's no bureaucratic like funnel,
Right.
Like let's say you attach this star, which you could do. You could attach this star. You have to claim it first, and then you could attach it to the province, and that puts it within the chain of command of that province. So that province governor and then that system governor, whoever you assign to it, they would have a lot more efficiency because now it's kind of within the chain of command of that. And that's why it's important to build chain of command, even though it costs extra time and money because it's very inefficient. So right now, Gamma Crawl would actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone. She has the most ADM and she'd fund it 100%, but she's part of your house. So again, everyone's going to be looking at this like, okay, your house. See, right now you've got 19 ADM because they have an administrator effect 375%. So that it multiplies it, but it takes 150 ADM total. So it's very simple. Once you've, raised the amount of ADM needed, then the project's completed.
Right.
See, there you go. See, now it went to 1 turn. And see, now because they've each offered to contribute 100%, now it splits their power in half. So now they each get 8 power from this project. And if you put a third person that was willing to contribute 100%, they would contribute a third, and now it would be in 3s. So you can put more people on the project, and those houses will be happy with you if you get them included. But the houses that aren't included will be upset because, that you didn't include them in this project, this Empire, huge project. Does this make sense?
Yes.
It's a very different concept. It's not something you typically see now because this person didn't contribute any money. They don't get any power.
I see. Okay. Oh, I see. All right.
So, you're basically splitting up the more people you put. Now, typically, because you have this one very powerful trader and this one very powerful province governor, you're able to pull all those ADM resources. But let's say you had a project that cost 1,000 ADM or even 2,000 ADM.
Right.
See, now you pull pretty much everyone from your empire to make this one project work. And this is with a very efficient administrator. Right now, if you do another project, you're not going to have any resources left to do anything.
For anything else.
Because you've got all your people. You've got all your ADM people already working on it. Okay, so now you see it's up here, send survey probe. So now in 1 turn, it should be done. And then you should see your power increase a little bit. And then, of course, those people will be happy. Now go to the...
I hit intern because I was...
it's okay. It's all right.
I
we can open up the house screen. You'll be able to see the results of your actions by putting them on the project. I think you can actually open it now. I mean, you can open it. I don't know if it will actually...
I clicked it and... Oh, nope. That's not what I want.
Oh, no. Return to game.
I thought I clicked it.
Right now, that's a bug. All that whole panel acts as like a button to open up the options menu. It's a very minor bug. If you click on the buttons above it, it won't do that. But just one of those little annoying things. I mean, there's nothing. It's not going to crash. It's not going to hang. The game is actually very stable at this point. That's why I have no fears about you playing it for hours in front of all these people.
Oh, okay. Wait.
So so it's just about done.
How can you tell?
Because
Wait.
you have because you'll be able to see actions, and then you'll see projects. They start to kind of file in.
Oh.
Okay, there you go. Now, what's cool about it is you see. Okay, now go down to who did you have helping? You had Kieran.
Yeah, I had these guys.
Okay, now see the
Oh.
positive reputation. See,
Oh,
this is how
wow.
you. And now their negative is decreased.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you got to offset. And obviously the more power, but the people you didn't have help.
Oh, damn.
Oh,
Oh, damn.
well, because you told them to go to hell.
Oh, damn.
And then you didn't. Yeah, they
Oh.
already don't like you. So houses that are aligned with you already are more giving, but houses that you're already kind of not aligned with are less likely to forgive.
House unhappy. Oh, no. House Milak is worsening. If you don't take steps to improve it, they may... Oh, no.
And then that will be a limited war, in which case they will never allow to be done. And they will actively their strategies will be actively aimed at bringing you down.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he's mighty pissed.
Oh, boy.
So at this point, you're gonna have to see a little no sign there on the leader's portrait. See the Ghostbuster sign or whatever.
Right.
So that means you pissed him off so much he's not going to serve for anything. He is not. You can't assign him to a viceroy ship if he's a house leader, but he won't even appear under projects. Like you won't even have him as an option to run a project.
Oh no.
You have been officially shunned.
I am a terrible emperor. I am awful. I am a terrible...
Well, no, I mean, this is a little bit of Dwarf Fortress involved. I mean, you can win the game, but you'll screw up a lot. And as you have more tools, like you can have him assassinated if you so choose, but it would be very difficult. You can assign Inquisitor to him and do some mischief. Well, you have to go to assign Inquisitor. There you go. Although the only Inquisitor you have available is really crappy, and that's a very high value target, but it will just take a while. But this is where you have to build friendships, because you see, and if you do nothing over time, if you don't piss them off, those values will gradually go to neutral. It just takes a while. So if you do nothing at all to piss them off, that will actually help you.
In terms of you haven't defended me lately.
Correct. Correct. Exactly.
God, I feel like I can't do anything right with these plants. They're just draining my... Okay, we're gonna replace you.
No, your GBP has actually gotten better a little. But remember, everything's over time. I mean, this is like a paradox game in the sense that you can't make this one massive change and it will just change. Now, if you'd have found someone that was great financial prime, yes, that's the biggest thing you can do right now. You need to find a better financial prime, but Barwan's going to hate you. But that's And by the way, the colors show your current. Red is limited war or worse. Green is cooperation. Blue is.
Wow, I don't have any options.
Well, because that house. What are you trying to do?
I was going to try and replace her.
Okay, so go to assignment actions. Go to assignment actions. Go to reassign character, and then go to Empire. Click on the Empire filter. Okay, and go to swap. So this right now will flip them out with courtiers. So do you have? But you've only selected. See the houses that like Waldegrave and Kierley Finn are the only ones that are willing to work with you right now. Everyone else is like limited war.
Right.
And that's another reason if you have every house hate you, you can only rely on your own house. Well, actually, you've only got them selected. You've only got... Okay,
yeah.
Well, that... I mean...
39 is better than 17. Let's see.
Yeah, and economic skill is one of the last ones to get kind of intel'd because it's kind of the hardest to determine because it's so important.
I've served you for my entire life, and this is the knife I get. I will get my revenge.
Well, that's a character you would look for a plot in a big hurry. to when that system gets added. You would definitely put them. So what's going to happen when the plot system gets added? You'll be able to actually tag. You know how in the original, trying to think, AI War. You know, have you played AI War? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Okay. You know how you could assign like tags to planets, like level 1, L0, like kind of their how important they are. Like a L9 would be like, this planet is super, super important.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So you'll be able to assign categories to characters. So in this case, you can assign threat levels. And this is just for you. This doesn't do anything in the game, but it's a way of organizing. So for that character, I would go back and put a threat tag on that character. And then I can do a filter when I go into my main, like my data view, and I can look at all my characters and planets. And then I can filter by these tags. And it will help me kind of organize, because as you can guess, there's a lot of characters, a lot of planets, a lot going on. So
Right.
One of the things I'm working on is how better to streamline all the data and how to make it like, okay, I need to figure out who's pissed at me. So I'll be able to filter by, how my relationship is, whether it's neutral or worse. And then from there, I'll be able to filter tags that I've given.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Well, that's not good. So you've got a black heart.
Oh no. Barwan has formerly reduced relationships with the Empire. Oh no.
Yep. So if you open up the house screen.
Hey, my GTP is better.
Yeah. Well, it only took pissing off a house to do it. Congratulations.
Hang on. So how's the screen?
So now Barwan. So now you've got a new category.
What's that?
Never good to have a emperor. It's never good to have a repute. See now, but it's reset. So when you go down a level, you reset, because otherwise you'd stay pissed forever. So you as a player know what you have to do to get that reputation back up. Now you don't see all the little ships, like the white ships are trade ships and the green ships are supply ships. All those different ships are trades. And they when you execute the turn, they all move and they fly towards where they're going.
I see them now. There they are.
You got a lot of trade. You actually have a pretty robust, and then they trade within their own trade hubs. So the more you see, you've got trades going. The white, so you've got a white ships. They're all trading within that hub,
Right.
and that's how planets individually can kind of keep their economies in check. See, now you've got 79%. So now you're way better off.
Oh, Jesus, thank goodness.
But like I said, it only took you destroying a reputation with a house. That happens to stronger ones. So now they're
technically two, but
well, yeah. Well, that's true.
Well, let's wrap
So
this up.
what do you guys think? Like, what I know you've been playing for a while. Like, what do you guys think of this whole? It's very different than a 4X, even though it's got all the 4X elements.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Terminate.
need to read a manual. I can't wait for your manual. I know you've made some videos, but I also love manuals. But I think because it's not the UI that's a problem. It's that this is so different that getting from A to B is not what I'm used to. You know what I mean? So, like, but it makes sense. Like, so far you've got just about everything that I would like. Like, I go there, and then, I go there, or I go there, and I click them, and I go right to them. So for the most part, it's just they're like I might not know what to do. Like, if I was just playing by myself, I'd look at this and go, "Buh?" You know what I mean? Like, what's happening? And I might not know how to affect all this. So, but
with having me as a guide, like, does it make sense? Kind of how the game flow and kind of
with you explaining everything, it makes total sense. But as a new player, if I didn't have a manual or a tutorial, I'd be like, well, you're going to add a tutorial. I'm sure you are.
Oh yeah. Once the game's near done, the problem is when you add systems, it's hard to, because the game changes, and we add systems fairly frequently. It almost puts it out of date. But yeah,
Right.
no, it's definitely what's going to happen. Most likely is you're going to start out as in a training simulator, and you'll start out as a viceroy, and kind of like the original Imperium Galactica. You'll manage a planet you'll be given a scenario.
No,
and
I love that. I love
and then
that,
a province, and then the empire.
Oh, because Imperium
is
Galactica
like a training regimen.
Right. No, Imperium Galactica I love the first Imperium Galactica. A lot of people didn't get that one either. They were like, well, I only have 2 ships and like 2 planets, like, because you have to be promoted. But like, I was a little sad they got rid of that in the second game, but it kind of made sense. It's probably more.
Well, some people didn't want to deal with it. Some people just want to get on with it and get on with it. Now, look at your assassination chance. While you've been fooling around and pissing off houses,
it went way up. I know
it's creeping up. I mean, and it's minimal. I mean, a percent is a lot because 5% is a 1 out of 20 chance. That's not insignificant.
Right. So Naniad over in the Twitch chat says he wants to do 2 things and hit end turn so much right now. So what would you want to do, man? Naniad, what would you want to do? Because I don't know. I like, if it were me, I would still keep focusing on these terrible planets. Oh, damn, it just takes a second. Oh, you don't know. Oh, he doesn't know what he would do. I see. Yeah, I would like keep focusing on why these planets that are in the red. Like, I might get to know their governors better, or I might try and
look at their economic skill. So you can see it right from here. So you got an 8, a 7, a 10. You've got really crappy.
They're terrible.
Well, Baba Yaga is fine, but you just don't have, like we said earlier, you got all farmers and miners there, and that will take some time to fix. But the other ones, you just got really crappy viceroys. And this is the one, they have one of 62. But if you zoom in, go ahead and unclick it. And this is for, remember Baba Yaga is just the one. They have a very low planetary development. They have a PDL of 4, and that's that bar right in the middle. So, I mean, really, like New Terra would be like a 20. Just to give you an example, because it's kind of like Trantor or Coruscant. So that one's going to be harder to fix. You've got to get higher. And sometimes, look, you're going to have planets that are just lost leaders. You just are. You've got to have farming worlds. And it just is. And that's part of the strategy. Like, what can I leave or what can I foist off onto other houses? You can probably give that planet to Kirley Finn. They'd probably take it. They're your allies. You want to foist it off? But, if they turn it around over time, if they become your enemy, you've just given them another holding. And it is very hard to take a holding back. Creates all kinds of problems. So that means they are focusing on, they have a moderate these. Usually when you see 50, that means that they have a house strategy to build up that planet. And they're focusing on bringing in materials like heavy, rare, and basic when you see that. So that's the house leader saying to this viceroy, I need you to get these materials into us. So you see how they're focusing on mines. So if you look at their house strategy, I guarantee you it's probably building up planets or building power on planets. And this is how this viceroy has chosen to do it. That's their relationships, but you won't, if it's in red, you don't have.
How do you get to
see their relationships?
So this is Malak. Okay, so it's. And Malak is claim systems. So,
but they have their own. So to do that, so if you go to house resources.
House what? I see.
House in the middle here. So this shows you have high intel, so you can see this. It shows you what their ADM that they have access to is, which is quite a lot. And it shows you their materials and their money. So another way to cripple a house is by going in and stealing their money or by taking away their holdings. You can even assign them to projects and keep them busy. If they're allied with you, you can actually use them for your own project. Now, no one is going to help you claim a system. No one is going to help you colonize except for your allies because they're not in the business of helping you expand. But if it's something for their planet, like if you're building, say, a starbase on their planet, yes, they will help you with that. If you're building a logistical station, yes, they will help you with that. If you're doing something good for that planet they're holding, yes, they will absolutely help you because it's helping them. But if you're trying to improve your planets or trying to expand your empire, they're not going to go for that.
Right. I kind of love it. I mean, I love there's so many choices to make. I love that there's so much to juggle. And I love how you could stay high level and just be like, I want to explore that, or I want to build a thing there and do a project, or you can dive deep into the weeds with these people.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And the next version, what's exciting, 0.8 is really going to be exciting because it's going to have the plots and rumors, but it will also have favors. So a favor is a little bit more advanced version of what you saw. Instead of just give me materials, you could have someone from Kierleaf say, hey, I have a planet that is really, it's in the negative GPP. Please help us make it profitable. And so you'll have it as like, it'll be in the lower center of the galaxy. You'll have an icon for your favors, and you'll have a time limit to get them done. And you'll actually be able to set a time limit yourself. You can say, I'll do it in 6 turns or 12 turns or 20 turns. The longer it takes you, the less favor points you get. But if you complete that project and you do it within the time limit, you get favor points that can be used to basically automatically make a character do whatever you want, even if it's something they wouldn't normally do.
Right.
Including like take their holding or, something that's like majorly they would never go to. You're basically cashing in a favor. And of course, it will improve your relationship with them quite a bit as well.
Right.
So you get to a point where there's the strategy in there is, well, how much time do I want to dedicate towards helping you? Because I got my own stuff to take care of. Because remember, limited AP, limited resources.
Right.
You can't promise and if you don't get it done, or if you fail it, then you take a big hit, negative reputation and personal grudge and things like that. So, and of course your power drops. So everything is kind of bidding what you can do. If you say you can turn around a planet in 3 turns, great. You'll get a lot of power and respect for doing that. But if you can't do it, you'll lose a lot of power and respect. Or you don't have to do it at all. You can just say, no, I don't have the resources, and that won't hurt you. It's just neutral. It's just like, no, I can't do it. Sorry. It's not a threat or demand or anything like that. But that's kind of a way what is it? Not distant worlds.
It's kind of a quest
endless space, kind of where they have these missions that you can kind of take and you have to do the thing. I mean, you don't have a time limit or anything, which makes this a little bit different. And they're optional. I know those are a little bit more plot driven, but it's just something to do. Like you have, a mission or something that you can kind of work towards. And some players will really like that. Some players will probably play primarily favor driven. Because when you're doing that, you're generally also helping your empire. I mean, the things they're asking you for are good things. Improve the economy, build a trade network, make a planet colonizable, things like that. So that's going to help you in the end, and it's a more focused way to play. But of course, you're doing that at the expense of your own freedom.
Right.
It's also benevolent, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing to that play style, then doing those, for lack of a better word, quests would certainly help fit the mold of that play style.
Yeah, absolutely. And your people will see that. If you fulfill these requirements, they know your popular support will skyrocket and your fear will decrease. Because you're basically doing what your subjects are asking. Like you're making life better for the houses, and your population lives under these houses. Even though they are part of your empire, they associate with the cultures related to these houses. So if you ask a pop, am I a Celestial Empyrean or am I a Barwonian? They're going to say I'm a Barwonian. Kind of like countries versus the world. Am I an Earthian or am I an American? I'm an American. So that's how they kind of relate it. So that's why, again, if you piss off every house, your popular sport's going to plummet too, because pops associate with their house that they are affiliated with.
Right. Naniad has a question. How often do things takes many turns to accomplish? I guess it depends on what it is. Like if you have a huge if you made a huge project that cost a lot and took like 18 people to do and everything, that could take like a lot of turns, right? Like
colonizing takes a while. Yeah, colonizing takes a while. Building stations takes a while. I mean, sending a survey probe was actually one of the lowest projects in the game. That's that's just you sending a probe. But like or terraforming a planet, that's huge. That's a huge project.
Right.
Because remember, you can only put having a 6 administrator is incredibly rare. That's really high. You saw most of them were like 2 or 1 or 3.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to put more than maybe 2 or 3 people on a project. And the thing is, if you only have like one great, province governor, you lose efficiency. Let's say I have 3 plants, just for simplicity's sake. If I have 3 plants that put out 100 ADM, so I have a system governor that under those 3 planets, it's not 300 ADM for the system governor because of inefficiencies. They might only cull 240. And let's say I have a system of 240, and then the other system has 240. So the province governor doesn't get 480, they get like 400 because, again, inefficiency, as you go up the chain. But if I only have 1 slot, I have to use the province governor because he's got 400. I don't have anyone else that has that much.
Right.
But if I had 5 slots, then I could individually place my viceroys that are far more efficient ADM because I have more slots available. And that's why it's real critical to have, good administrators and to be on good terms with as many houses as possible, so you have more characters that are willing to help you. And that's house leaders are great. House leaders have the highest stats in the game for things like administration.
So I should have maybe from the beginning got to know the house leaders better.
And that is a strategy. I mean, that's one thing if you want to, because you need them. You really, they are your best administrators.
Yeah,
and
totally.
You can get by without them, but as you saw, most commoners, even your governors, don't have that great a skill. So you kind of have to get by, and that's what limits your project. There's no arbitrary limit on projects. You could do 100 if you wanted, but you're limited by the amount of people that can administrate and staff them.
Right.
So
Sorry, I love how this guy says, "What can I do for you?" Quote, "Your Majesty."
Yeah, there's a lot of snark in the game, and it changes based on your relationship. This guy he's a rival, so they talk to you and they respond differently. Like the conversation engine is actually pretty advanced. And again, that's part of what making the game real and making these characters feel more real. When we get the portrait system, and everyone has the unique setup, that's really going to help too, because everyone will. I mean, I want players to feel like pissed off at people, like, why can't this guy, this damn house leader? I'm so tired of him. I just want to kill him, or like I want people to feel that way. Like they're not just nameless characters. Like they keep, and they'll taunt you, and they'll pop up. They will pop up shortly, and they'll just convert, and it won't cost you an AP, but they'll just pop up messages saying, you are a weak emperor, or House Milok is on the move. You will never find us. I mean, so that's all part of making the empire seem alive.
And it really does feel alive. So when can folks buy this? I mean, you're about to announce a publisher deal. When that goes through, will it be on Steam, or is it going to take a little while to get on Steam?
Well, it will be on Steam as a wish list. You can get into the early access program. It'll be the first quarter of 2020, so it's a little ways out. We really want to make. I mean, the game is stable. You haven't. I mean, you really haven't come across that many bugs. I mean, the bugs you found are just minor UI stuff.
Minor like text stuff, and like there was one screen text stuff, and there was like a screen that was flickering a little bit, but like minor stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So getting rid of that, putting at least 0.9, everything basically but the ZIL major system, and then cutscenes, things like that.
Right.
But the military system will be in. The full science system will be in. The rest of the intel with the favors and the rumors and secrets, like all that will be added.
Right.
And then at that point, I feel it will be far enough along to enjoy. I really believe in. I've seen so many on Steam kind of go by the wayside because they were too early. I have the luxury of not having to release just to raise money. I can release it when it's ready. So, and that's important to me. I mean, this is a game that is different. And when people are, especially high, influencers like yourself, when they see it, you've played it since the beginning. So you have kind of a understanding. I mean, you've seen it since it was Imperia and it was, very, very raw, but someone just jumping into this, they need to understand the game and they need to understand the concepts. Because what I don't want people looking at it and go, oh, it's a stupid game. Oh, I can't do anything. It's crap. Well, no, it's not crap. It's very detailed. But if you don't understand what you're doing, like you said, to you it is crap, and you will throw up your hands, and you will tell people
Right.
stay away because it's a stupid game. You can't do anything. You can't even send fleets. How do you colonize? You can't do anything.
Right. So, folks, you can wish list this on. You can wish list this. That's hard to say. Wish list this. You can add this to your wish list.
There you go.
Final question. How many projects can you have going at one time?
That's unlimited. Like I say, it's only limited by the amount of administrators you can pull and then your ADM that you have among your planets.
That makes sense.
So generally, you're not going to be able to support more than about 2 realistic at any one time.
Because they're big. They're big, like empire-wide deals.
Yeah, they're big deals. These take like a year. And the ADM is like, space level, it's just kind of a catch-all for like military level, space level, engineers, materials, foundries, spaceships, convoys bringing materials, especially the space-based ones. I mean, it's just kind of a amalgamation but it's heavy, and that's why most of the space ones take a ton of heavy and rare materials, and that's why they're planetary level. They're not like actions where they can be done by a character. Like, you need the resources of an empire. I mean, think if you're colonizing and terraforming a planet, that's not something a citizen can just pay for out of their pocket unless they're Elon Musk. So you need those resources, and you need that empire behind you. So that's the whole idea behind projects. But no, there is no artificial limit. The bigger you build your empire and the more houses you have willing to cooperate, which means they need to be at least at cooperation level, if not alliance, then the more projects you can do at once.
Right. Well, again, folks, don't forget to add this to your wish list. On Steam, you'll be able to buy the early access version starting early next year, which is getting closer. It's like, 4 months away now?
About 6 months.
Something like that. So again, this is Alliance of the Sacred Sons. It's been in development for a while, and it has come such a long way, and it is really just so different and unique and interesting, and I cannot wait to see how further this evolves. So, Steve, thank you so much for taking a couple hours out of your day to walk us through the game.
My pleasure. Thank you for spending a couple hours listening to my blathering.
Oh, it was our pleasure. Again, we love to know how the sausage is made. So, folks, I want to just a couple of notes. As always, thank you to our Patreon subscribers. Patrons, you are the best. You are wonderful. I love you with all of my heart, and we couldn't do this without you. And just a couple of quick notes. Tomorrow we have 2 streams. 10 a.m., Spaz and I are going to be streaming Protocore, which we got some keys for, so we're like, let's just do this. And then 5 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be streaming Rebel Galaxy Outlaw with the folks from Double Damage Games joining us, just like here. So, very excited about that one. I'm going to need like 2 naps just to prepare. And so, yeah, that's tomorrow. So, we got 2 streams tomorrow. And then remember, next week, we are going to a full-time schedule. So, 4-hour streams, Monday through Friday, space games, flight sims, mech games. We're going to have a variety of stuff. So, I want to thank you all for supporting us and watching and commenting. Very active chat today. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.